Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and Bigs and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now. Well, look at that. It's another Tuesday for you, Jigs and Bigs. We got it. It's Bobby Roast Beef here. I hope you guys are ready. It is mid-April right now. We're in the midst of an amazing Chronic Trips tournament for the month of April, and this week especially, there's really great stuff going on with that tournament. So if you're looking to get some advancements on the board, you're going to want to pay attention to the news, the updates that we have for this week. It's going to be a good one. We've got information about the over the weekend we had over at A1 an MAKB East tournament. We got the details that all went down over there for you. Sean's got all that all set up. We all had some amazing fishing adventures right there. Multi-species fishing, in fact, like myself and Sean. We'll get to all that stuff a little bit later in the show. Lots of great stuff, as always, everybody. We got our jig heads in the house. We are recording to a private, unlisted feed right now so that they can engage with us a little bit. If you're interested in becoming a jig head, just go to jigsandbigs.com and click over to become a jig head over at our Patreon. Super easy. Good stuff lined up. I think this is going to be an amazing show, everybody. Sit down, get yourself comfortable, maybe grab yourself something delicious to keep yourself refreshed. Maybe a hot cup of coffee or something like we're doing. But we'll see you guys right after this. What's up, everybody? It's another beautiful week after an amazing weekend out on the water getting some fish, and we'll cross all that bridge, give you all the info that you guys need in just a bit. But Sean, how are you this fine Monday morning?
Good morning, Mr. Roast Beef. How are you today?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's Patriots Day in Massachusetts. Not all of our listeners have Patriots Day as a holiday, but in Massachusetts we do, and I think I'm not sure exactly how many states there are that observe, but so if you're in Mass, happy Patriots Day, guys. It's mid-April. This is an amazing time of year. Things are just starting to kind of heat up in New England, which is ironic because we just came off of the heels of a ridiculous cold system that had parked itself right over in New England. It gave 4 or 5 inches of snow in some areas and like nipple bursting cold temperatures, like painful. It was not fun. It was not fun, but
so we need to distinguish now between painful and pleasurable nipple bursting.
Well, think about it. I mean, it depends on where you are. Like, I don't want to go out and take the trash out first thing in the morning and have to change my shirt because,
not where you are in the world. Where
exactly
this kind of cold for us, we hate it. It bursts our nipples. It's painful. This kind of cold in just for Germany might be pleasurable.
Germany,
nipple bursting.
Yes.
What is happening? We're already off the rails.
We're in the gutter already. God.
Yeah, that's good.
Jeez. It's okay though. I'm all right with it. I'll accept it. I'll allow it, if you will. I've had a lot of coffee today, And one of the first things I think we need to talk about is coffee. It's how I start my day every morning. You know, it's how a lot of fishermen. I feel like fishing and coffee go hand in hand. You know, it's sometimes what you need. I'll tell you, when I went out this weekend, when it was like crazy cold, I was glad I had my my double insulated tumbler with me, full of piping hot monsoon coffee, and it stayed hot all day. Thank goodness. Thank freaking goodness, man. It was rough. But in this little Hookset Hoodlums Pro Staffers chat that you and I are privy to, coffee has come up multiple times. And I'm not sure exactly who it was exactly, but multiple pro staff members have made the reference that, oh, you know, coffee. I don't drink coffee like Jigs and Bigs, like Bobby Roast Beef does. You know, this crazy organic shat out by like some jungle cat, like, you know, I mean, some kind of, you know, like...
burst out of a German nipple coffee.
Exactly. They call that's not a French press. That's a German thing, and it's something completely different. God damn it. What is happening to the show already?
The best thing is we did all this prep for the last half hour. We're like, oh, we have so much fishing stuff to talk about. Now we're on coffee and bursting nipples twice now. Yes, bursting. Okay.
If anybody needs anything etched, like if you need like a serial number done in a kayak or anything like that, just come over to my place on a cold day. I got you. Anyway, but getting back to coffee. So yes, I am particular about my coffee, but it's only because I love it. Like I locally, you know, when we're at home, we drink from this one roaster for like the last year and a half called Monsoon, and their coffee is delicious. It's some of the best I've ever had. They pay real close attention to consistency and make sure that it's pretty much the same all the time. They're always reinventing themselves. So I like a good bean. I'm not going to turn down a pot of drip coffee. While I'm out, my go-to drink is a black Americano. You know, I like a good, you know, anywhere between 4 and 6 shots of espresso and hot water. That's it. It is so good. It's all I need in life. But, you know, it can save you while you're out there. Now, Sean, you're a coffee drinker, but of a whole other stripe than I am.
Yeah, dude, it's just like anything with food. Unfortunately, this is my life and it sucks. I have to look at labels and see what is going to cause me problems or not. So I'm kind of limited in my coffee. I actually one of the ones, and actually the only one I keep in the house is New England coffee. It's a brand.
That's good stuff.
It has nothing to do with us being from New England. It has to do with the label and what it says are in the ingredients. So I don't have a choice. I'm saying that sadly because I know there's so many good coffees out there that I can't touch.
I'll tell you, New England coffee is brewed exclusively at a favorite Western Massachusetts, I say destination donut shop. What freaking one am I thinking of now? Not the whole donut, not that one. The one on Riverdale Road. You know what I'm talking about. The Donut Dip. They brew New England coffee in there.
Yeah, they do. And you know what? Another one that I can drink if I see it at gas stations. It's the only gas station coffee I really can touch.
Green Mountain?
Yes, Green Mountain. Green Mountain's up there. And when I am traveling abroad in the Midwest, little shout out to Caribou Coffee.
Oh, Caribou Coffee. Yeah.
They're good.
Caribou's all right. It's not bad. Now,
and they do a good job with all the allergens and all that shit. So
we are born and bred massholes here at Jigs and Bigs, 100%. Now, what's your hot take on Dunkin' Donuts coffee, Sean?
Any port in a storm?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's based out of sheer convenience alone, and that's all. It's hot garbage. It is hot garbage. The most inconsistent product. Like, everybody thinks these New Englanders love their Dunkin' Donuts, and there's, you know, while a lot of people really enjoy things like dairy and sugar and like with a little bit of what I would call hot brown, that's basically what gets churned out of. It's just hot brown water. There's no flavor at all. 30 years ago, it was fantastic, but God, man, what happened to you, Dunkin' Donuts? How the mighty have fallen.
And with Dunkin', I'll usually drink like half caffeinated, half regular, half caffeinated, half decaf at home. Yep. That's what I'll brew, and I usually don't have any problems with that, with freaking out or anything. And then, man, Dunkin' Donuts. If I have a regular, I might as well, have developed a bad cocaine habit. It's just awful. It just sends me through the roof. So I drink their decaf straight, and that's got enough caffeine in it. There's no such thing as
truly decaf. Yeah.
But yeah, their decaf has a ton of caffeine in it. So Yeah, that's where I'm at.
I'll say this. So Gravy Fishing jumps in here. He says Black Rifle coffee. I've had Black Rifle a couple of times. There's a cigar shop that I like to frequent periodically, and they have Black Rifle in there in their K cups, and I think it's their AK-47 blend, which is just great. I mean, it's a great like everyday, but like I have reasons why I'm not a big fan with when it comes to coffee for K cups, just because of the waste involved. Rodney jumps up here and says, "Great value donut shop blend with whole milk. I'm what some would call a cheap date." There's nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong at all. And then he jumps in to say, Casey's gas station may be a Midwest thing, is my go-to gas station coffee. Dunkin' is a dumpster fire. I couldn't agree more, man. Dunkin' is garbage. Like generations ago, it was wonderful, but God, it's terrible. And Starbucks makes a terrible cup of drip coffee. If I'm getting anything over at Starbucks, let's get this out of the way. It's the espresso only, and it's based surely on convenience. I'll go to like any roaster locally, you name it, I'm there. I'm there.
One of the bright spots of Dunkin' in the past, let me think now, almost 20 years that possibly took away from my kids' college savings when the Red Sox signed Curt Schilling in 2004 when they went to the World Series.
That's
and
right.
Won.
Yep.
Do you remember all the commercials he did for that sandwich? It was what was it? It was a croissant.
Yep.
Egg, sharp cheddar, and a piece of sausage, and the sausage had maple on it.
Oh, yes.
I used to call that the Schilling burger, and I swear to God, I ate 10 of them a week.
Yeah.
I would slam those things. That was before I, realized I wasn't supposed to be eating them with my body reacting poorly to it. But
like, this is wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I used to smoke those. I would just kill them. It was so good. So if Curt Schilling got residuals off that, you're welcome, Schilling. You're welcome.
I'm going to say this. For gas station coffee, for myself, Gravy jumps in and says Dippin' Donuts and Spencer is great. There's another Dippin' Donuts that I've been to, which is not bad, actually. I think in Worcester. I'll say this. Cumberland Farms has like some of the best bang for your buck, and it's not terrible coffee, and they're pretty strict on their staff, like, turning over pots. So you're not sitting like there was a time where Bobby Roast Beef did in fact work at a Cumberland Farms, and I had thrown away many pots of coffee that just were burned, where it was like pouring out sand. It was terrible.
Oh.
It was all like, I was that guy. And for being like, the first tattoo I ever got was of a coffee cup. My wife and I have matching ones. I'm like, I have been a coffee drinker for a long time, but man, and I worked in the evenings. I was just like, who's drinking this shit? Whatever. I'll brew a pot when I first get there. Somebody at midnight is like, oh, this tastes like shit. And I'm like, brew another one.
I will say this for coffee. A couple of years ago, I'm very, very particular about my coffee. My coffee, I don't know, what do you call them? Tumblers.
Yes.
I like them as low maintenance as possible. So, the ones at Caribou Coffee, not only do they go low maintenance with just a one-piece lid where it's just the hole in it. It's not like, the hole in the gasket. It's not like the sliding thing or any shit like that. And then they have all sorts of fish on them. So there's a largemouth bass one, and currently you've seen me drinking the bluegill one.
Yep.
Yeah. And then on the back, it has a silhouette of the state of Minnesota, and it says "drink like a fish" on it, which is just great. So I've been drinking those for years. And my wife, for Christmas a couple years ago, said, "I got something for you. Give it a whirl." And it was kind of a high-tech container, a coffee tumbler, whatever you want to call it. But it's almost like somewhere between a tumbler and a thermos. So the top screws down. It's pretty tight. It's not going anywhere. It's got a lock on the thing. I don't use it because the mouthpiece doesn't really work well. I end up throwing coffee all over myself.
Yeah.
But that thing, if I'm going out on Cape Cod in February and it's 30 degrees out, if I pour a tumbler of coffee for myself to drink on the ride down, and then I leave another tumbler in my car in 30-degree weather for 5 hours, 6 hours, it's not warm. It's still hot. It's amazing. Like that. Smaller. You've seen that one. That little.
I've seen it.
Torpedo looking one I have.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know the brand on that. I have one of those too, but that's how it acts. You know what I mean? It's still hot in the cold.
Yep.
After hours, it's absolutely amazing. It's a miracle of modern science.
Yeah. I absolutely freaking love it. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. I have certainly carved a niche for myself as far as people thinking like I'm some wicked coffee snob, and it's true. I will own that. That's a crown, a title I proudly own. But man, I'll tell you, like I have had some nightmare cups of coffee, but I'll tell you what, I have never had any bad coffee post fishing. Like I'm usually looking forward to that cup right after we're done. You know, and it's like it could be a million. I don't know why. It's like it could be like 1,000,000 degrees, middle of summer, and I will drink hot black coffee.
Yeah. I'll drink it in I don't drink iced coffee. I think it's tastes like bad coffee. That's me. It's like coffee's been left out.
I do like cold brew. I mean, I'll drink iced coffee as well, but I mean, I will also drink like the coffee that's in my mug right now has gotten cold just because we've been working on shit and putting some things together. So, but I will drink this. I know some people are like, oh, this coffee's cold, and they'll just dump it. I'm like, nope, whatever. I have, this is awful. I have had like an Americano that I have not finished and like, get wherever I am and I might forget it in the car and then I'll go back to it later and I'm like, oh, this is ice cold. Oh, well. Iced coffee is okay, but I'll tell you what, I have before taken my Nalgene bottles and just filled them with cold brew. And,
really?
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I drink an insane amount of coffee. I really, really do. So we were talking about like show sponsors and things like that. I mean, we should definitely look into that because I could use a little help with my needs as far as acquiring, the bean juice, if you will.
The bean juice.
The bean juice.
Bean juice has another term too. I think we'd have to go to Germany to get the exact definition.
But perfect. Let's go out for schnitzels after this. I think it's only fitting.
Schnitzels and bean water.
Schnitzels and bean water. So what do we have? So that covers that. Why don't we do this? Why don't we recount our weekends of fishing, and then we'll cover the tournament stuff after that. How do you feel about that, Sean?
That sounds just phenomenal. That sounds like a way to kick off a fucking Monday.
Yeah, I think that's the way we do it.
Past exploding nipples.
So do you want to go first, or should I?
I don't know. I got a lot. I mean, I've been fishing my ass off. Yeah.
And you have a lot of, I'm a little bit less that needs to be out there. So, I mean, I've been out a lot of shorter trips for the most part is actually what it kind of seems like. I'd gone out multiple days last week and I had been skunked. I didn't get out Monday or Tuesday. I did get out Wednesday and I fished with my oldest daughter and we got skunked pretty good. Like there was nothing, and actually it was pouring rain that day. It was right before the temps actually really took like a real nosedive. I think it was later that night that things got really, really chilly. And then Thursday, I don't remember getting out at all on Thursday. No, I take that back. I did fish a little bit on Thursday. I was able to squeak out a little bit. Nothing. Just these are all like quick little bank ends here and there. Nothing really happening. I got Friday. My plan was to be able to get out and fish, but it was like pouring on Friday. Well, actually, you know what? I take that back. Wednesday, I did fish, but it wasn't with my daughter. That was on Thursday. Thursday was an interesting day because we had gone to this one park where I had been kind of cleaning up, actually. And it was pouring rain that day. There was nothing. We grabbed lunch. And then my oldest just got her permit. I think I mentioned that in the last show. And this week, she's like doing all driver's ed like crazy. So we went and I took her to a local college campus. It was pretty empty and she drove around that campus. I like that because there's speed bumps and stuff. So she doesn't have to really, she's got to kind of reel it in a little bit and be careful before I get her out on some actual roads. So there was that. And then Friday, it basically rained all day Thursday into Friday. It sucked. Friday was a big day. I got the trailer hitch installed.
Yes, you did.
That was Friday. I had gone to Cap and Hitch of New England right here in West Springfield. I had called them a few weeks back and had talked about, different, options and things like that. Now, what I'm doing here is, and this is a sort of a unique situation. We're in the process of, you've got an amazing kayak provided by Three Bells. Right, this amazing kayak. And Three Bells is anxiously looking forward to placing me in the right boat. I've had conversations with Lauren about this, and when we were down there talking with Derek, I mean, it was like, we had this conversation about putting me in the right boat. And here's the thing, my Ascend 128T. I was putting that right on the roof rack, right on the roof of my car. I don't really trust doing that with this level of boat from Three Bells. So instead, what I'm doing is I'm getting a trailer. Now this is the tricky situation. I'm almost done paying off my car, and my daughter is about to start driving in the next X amount of months. So it's possible my wife and I will be doing a switcheroo, and my daughter will be driving the Escape. And then my wife will just upgrade, I mean, she's got barely any miles on her Enclave and no tow pack. So I'm going to have to do this again is basically what it gets down to. Should this be the situation? If my wife says I'm just going to keep my car, then I'm going to be buying a pickup anyway. That's the plan. That's sort of the plan. So I just decided, I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put the hitch on. We'll make it happen. I found a really minimalist trailer that is basically a frame, and I'm going to customize it slowly because I want to live with it and figure out what I want to do. So there's a few things there. I spent the entire morning over at Cap and Hitch waiting for this to get done. I couldn't get an Uber ride back to save my ass. And I knew it was only going to be a couple hours. So I'm like, at a certain point, I was just like, well, screw it. I'm going to wait for it. But the way that they had to put the hitch on, there's these muffler mounts, this bracket that kind of goes around the exhaust system. And there's these mounts that hold it on. And as they took them off, one of them just disintegrated. The car is like 7 years old now. So it was time. It was like there's some corrosion going on there. So we had to wait for those parts. That added a little bit of time. Got everything all set. Went and did trivia that night. Had a great night. And then I got up that morning on Saturday. So I got up on Saturday morning and I met out with my good buddy Pavlik. And Paul and we took a ride out to a legendary fishery in New England right now. When you think of fishing in New England, there's a couple of places that you think of right off the bat. One of them is Quabbin Reservoir. Quabbin is just open for fishing on Saturday. We did not go there because the weather was so bad. The cold, the rain, did not want to take a boat and go out there. So we went to Wachusett Reservoir instead. We fished the Chew. For the first time ever, we took a ride out to the Chew, spent a little time in the car, worth it completely. Now, I will say this. I've been talking about finding fish being my goal for 2021, and I took all the information that I had in the months leading up to this, and I tracked down, I looked at some contour maps of the area where we were fishing. I looked at as much as I possibly could in advance to be prepared. Oh, and I found fish. And I caught them both doing the same exact presentation and really kind of like planning for it and focusing on it. So let me explain the situation here. What I had was this ridiculous deep hole with a steep drop off that I was working. And I go and I cast a natural Bill Lewis rattle trap. Beautiful trap, perch kind of pattern. I'm not going to give the exact color because I reordered like 6 of them. So I go and I let this just drop. I'm just going to let this play to the next track because it's worth it.
Hold on. Well, first thing you hooked into, let me guess, was a montage.
First thing I hooked into was a montage. No, so this is essentially what I was doing was I had to sit and let this sucker just drop all the way down, and I was yo-yoing it up off the bottom. Just like ripping it, letting it drop, ripping it, letting it drop. And I get smacked. Like smacked. I'm like, holy shit. And there's a lot of line out. Like this fish was deep. And I knew they were going to be deep because it was 39 degrees when we got there. and it was the same temperature earlier the day before. So I'm like, this water is cold. They're out deep. So I go and I pull this fish in, and it's a small lake trout. Actually, so small that I thought it was a brown initially. I was like, oh yeah, this must be a brown, because I've never seen a laker that small. So he choked the rear hook of this rattle trap so badly. I finally get him free, and he's bleeding bad out of his gills. And I'm like, well, you're going to be lunch. So what I did was I went over to a bush where there was some branches, took out my knife and smoothed them out a little bit, made a little loop, and then took another stick, popped it in the mud, and just pinned him there in that one spot, left him in the water because I didn't have a cooler. Eventually what happened was when we did leave, we brought the fish back in a bag and stopped at the nearest convenience store about 5 minutes away, grabbed a bag of ice, and then, got her home. Delicious, by the way. Amazing. My wife is not big on freshwater fish at all, and not big on actually most other seafood for the most part. But I was expecting her to spit it out, and she did not, which impressed me. My youngest daughter thought it was fantastic, so it was wonderful. I'm going to stop with the epic music. So,
no,
okay.
No, keep it going.
I'm going to keep it going. Let's do. Oh, this one's called Sea Adventures. So,
Bobby roast beef, swashbuckling lake trout since 2021.
Pretty much. And so this felt like redemption for a number of reasons. First off, you remember that time we went fishing with Andy and Joe and Bill over in Central Mass last fall, and it was just like, I mean, you guys were catching rainbows. I think you caught a tiger trout, didn't you?
I caught a tiger trout.
Yeah, so you caught a tiger trout over there. I got skunked, and I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, I've never ever caught any trout on a on anything that wasn't live bait. It's always been a night crawler, a mealworm, something like that. Never ever on anything artificial. And here I am with a half-ounce crankbait, a half-ounce rattle trap, and boom! I'm like, this is amazing. So at this point, Paul was over across behind me in another spot where he initially had started fishing. It was much, much more shallow over there. So I shoot him a text, and I let him know. I was like, you got to get over here where it's deeper. I'm like, trust me, just come on over. So we traversed this area, and we went we went hard. Like I told him, I was like, dude, I am impressed. I'm like, he was like getting into the woods. Like, I mean, there were some spots where we kind of put ourselves out of our comfort zone. And we work all the way over to this other end of this bank. Same idea, same kind of drop off, just dropped off in this other area. But it was all rocks where we were over there. Now, I should say this. Unfortunately, I was pulling up a lot of line that was discarded as I was yo-yoing off the bottom. And I took all that line and I chucked it in a local trash barrel that was not too far from where I was fishing. So I did hook into something rather large, like either a big log or got myself wedged into a couple of rocks, and I did break off that trap. That trap that has caught me 10 fish this year. It was soul crushing. But knowing that I was ready. And I had another extremely similar, not the same model, extremely similar color. I had this Arc, I forget the model number, this Arc lipless. It was a little bit heavier. It might have been, what, 5/8? It was just a touch heavier. And I go and I'm doing the same thing, just yo-yoing off the bottom with that. And I caught a 16.5-inch largemouth. And awesome. This was like hit like a freight train, like as I was letting things just kind of flutter back down, hits this bait. I'm like hooked right in the middle of the mouth, like just fantastic. And I'm psyched. I'm like, this is amazing. So I release that fish. Everything's good. I'm fishing around this one area again, and I get hung up again, and that sucker broke off. What sucks about that's an $18 crankbait. Those arc baits are no joke. But hey, you know what? I knew the pattern, I knew the color, and I knew the presentation. And then I spent the rest of the day basically trying to find something right along those lines. I was throwing a swinging football head jig with a Yoda worm on it. I was throwing a chatterbait. I threw a chatterbait as well with, did I use the Yoda worm or maybe it was a craw? I think I might have used a craw trailer on that. Still that like natural perch bluegill kind of look. And there was just nothing to be had from that point. Also at this point, you know, this, like I said, this is a body of water that is in the worst possible conditions, but it's still kind of like a destination for bank anglers. For sure. I mean, if you haven't fished there, like, you know, you owe it to yourself. There's a lot to cover. You know, there's such a huge area over there at Wachusett. So as we're fishing in this one spot, it's starting to fill up more and more and more. You see people showing up and throwing out trout lines and stuff, and they got their chairs set up along the bank, and, you know, people are kind of making their way around. We're like, you know what, man, I think we might have kind of missed it. We had to get back early afternoon anyway. I told Paul, I was like, hey, let me buy lunch. We'll take a ride. We'll get the hell out of here. So that's what we did. We headed back home, and Paul, for his first time, enjoyed Popeye's chicken. For his first time. And he was sold. And this came out of a conversation because I have a new question I'm incorporating in some of our interviews about chicken joints. You guys will hear the details, but generally it's like, you know, what's your favorite chicken joint? And the caveat is it either has to be in a gas station or it has to be something that has a drive-through. That's basically it. So it's a good question. So it was a great afternoon. Really, really great. Then I had gone out on Sunday with my youngest daughter, and we tried to fish this one spot, and it was just packed. Like so many people. I was like, you know, let's go a couple other places. I just didn't want to have to pull like wacky worms out of trees or anything. So I was looking for like wide open, accessible kind of stuff for her. So we had gone to another park. No luck over there at all. It was also like midday. Sun was right up overhead, partly cloudy. It was a beautiful day. It was starting to warm up, but they were not biting at all. Hit another pond after that, a pond that's actually on the campus of a school. And I've always felt weird going over there to fish, but I'm like, I got my kid. That's the perfect excuse to just sneak on over and just be like, oh, yeah, I figured we'd try and get her on some fish. No luck over there. And then we went over to Tractor Supply to re-up on some pet food for the dogs and the stupid cat.
Nice.
Yeah, it was an amazing weekend. And it was all had to do with that last, or that trip on Saturday. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that Wachusett trip's awesome.
So much fun.
I mean, I would have probably kept that lake trout either way, because I eat trout. I catch so few of them. Every one I catch, I eat.
Honestly, it would have been the same thing for me, but definitely 100%. Like when I saw how bad he was bleeding after I was able to get that trouble out of the back of his throat, like tucked way back there, I was just like, I'm not letting this fish go to waste. You know, definitely not. And it's like, it's tough because it happened so early. I think I caught him at like 7 a.m. And then we left right about 10:30 or 11. So I'm like, I don't have any ice or a cooler at all with me right now. I'm like, so we'll put him on a stringer, leave him in the water. And then if the way I figured it, I was like, if I go anywhere from this one spot, I'm going to come back and collect the fish. But if something picks him up and flies off with him, awesome. It didn't go to waste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like this way, I'll at least take it. And that water was so cold, kept it nice and fresh. So we're good. We're good to go.
Perfect.
I'll tell you.
Perfect.
Cleaning that trout was an educational experience for my daughter, Delaney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, oh my God. She's like, are you going to cut the tail off too, Dad? And I was like, I have to. He won't fit in the pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this that leads into the question that I called you and had when we talked about this adventure on the phone the other day. I had called you, or I had talked to you, and I said, did you save the head and the tail? And you were very quizzically asking me, why would I do that? And I said, well, one of the things with a lot of the rehabilitation and stuff I'm putting my body through over the years of, you know, the military shit is I now go to acupuncture, and it's been absolutely life-changing.
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember the first day I was done with it, and I called you. I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. Like my back has felt it was like somebody reset the clock on my back.
Yeah.
18 years since I started having problems on a deployment years ago. It's been daily pain for 18 years. And then the first treatment was so, how do I put this? I mean, it was incredible. It was staggering how I walked out of there. I felt like I was on cloud nine. I couldn't believe what was happening, but my acupuncturist,
that's right.
Yeah, she actually talked to me about fishing a little bit, and she said, "Well, what do you do with the, what you have left over when you're done filleting?"
Yep.
And I said, "Well, for the most part, they go into the garden,
Compost, yeah,
or compost or whatever." But I said, at some point during the summer, usually I have to start throwing them out because there's only so many fish you can put into a garden before it becomes a garden of dead fish.
exactly.
Which she laughed at, and she said, "Why don't you give them to me?" I said, "Okay, I'll freeze everything." So she makes I believe it's Chinese fish head soup.
Yep.
That she has a recipe for. So now it's great. I do my fillets, and I go ahead and I freeze the remaining carcasses. So they're just going to get made into a stock anyways, and give them right to her. She is so happy.
Oh yeah.
Like when I show up and I'm like, "Hey, I got the cooler." Now it's like, "Oh, Sean, you're my favorite." I'm like, yeah,
that's awesome.
Look me up. I mean, it's the least I can do. I mean, there's no downside to this. You know what I mean? Everything's being used.
Yep.
My back doesn't hurt for the first time in 18 years. I mean, come on, it just makes sense. But
it's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I can't say enough. So thanks to her for helping me with my back, and she can have all the fish she wants. I'm firing up. I'll get into it in a minute, but John and I made quite the haul last night.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Cousin John and I went out, but I'll go through chronologically here. So
okay. Would you like a bed of music as well?
Yeah,
is it that
music. Epic? No, I'm just kidding. I don't want any music. No, it's not that epic. Circus music. Hold on, let me grab a swig of coffee here. Hold on. All right. So last week, the 8th through the 14th was my week in the monthly to fish.
Yep.
The first week, I believe there was only one angler for the MAKB monthly. It was Steve O'Brien. I'll be meeting Steve tomorrow, actually, as we got paired up in our first round knockout matchup. So we're fishing a lake in central Massachusetts tomorrow. Actually, I think it's a small chain of lakes. Whatever.
We're going to go out Steve there on the show. Actually, I had a conversation over the winter with Steve, and we just never connected the dots. So we got to get him on the show.
Oh, I'll see him tomorrow. I'll let him know to reach out or get on the calendar and schedule. So, yeah, he went first. He was the only person to fish in the first week, and he got I think he put 84 inches up on the board out of 5 fish, that's completely respectable, and nobody would sniff at that in a tournament. I came up next second week, and I think there was only one other person that picked the second week as well, and I topped 90. I got a 91 and a quarter, and then the third week, Ken Wood, Derek Brundle, and Matt Conant all picked. And they were all in tournaments, and I am now in 4th place because those 3 fished. Ken went out and absolutely killed it on A1, which I'll get into in a minute. I did what I could. The last day the last 2 days I went to A1, which the A1 site, we've talked about it a little bit on the show. Mm-hmm. The A1 site is completely unique to Massachusetts. There aren't many places like it here in the state. There's places like it all over the country, but not many around here. It is paved with stumps, and it's dangerous stumps. Nate Shagnon actually made a really good analogy. I usually say it looks like an Indiana Jones pit, in a temple somewhere with all the spikes, because in the middle of this flooded area they left the trees when I'm guessing it was the Corps of Engineers or whoever made this reservoir. And over the years, the wind and the water have just wore down these trees so that they're like spikes. So if you go in, you're getting skewered. Like, it's not even a joke. Yeah. It's what I don't like taking people that are not experienced in kayaks there, because you've got to watch your ass out there. You'll get fucked up.
Yep.
But it's with all the timber, it's got a ton of bass. And it's got a good pickerel population. I went there, and I always laugh and say it's like a 17, 18-inch fish factory. And the running joke over the past 4 years is that every knockout tournament, I schedule my first round there. Mainly it's been because I've been the only guy out west and everyone else has been coming east. And that is almost at the intersection of 495, which runs north to south from New Hampshire to Cape Cod, and Interstate 90. So I'd have to come from 90, and whoever else is coming up or down 495, we meet there, and it's right there.
Yeah.
But it is dangerous. If anybody's listening to this and wants in New England and wants to go fish that thing, I'd be very wary about taking a canoe out there.
Tread cautiously.
If you got a nice bass boat, be careful, because it's murky water too, so you can't see shit. I'm experienced there, and even last time I took the pedal kayak out, I hit 4 or 5 stumps, and it scared me because I didn't see them.
Yeah.
So I went out there. I think it was on the 13th or 12th. And again, pumped in my 17, 18-inch fish quota. Got a few left. And I had 1 day left to fish that monthly. And I should make mention of this. Thank you to my wife for letting me go balls out on this tournament for the week, because she just said, don't worry.
Let's be honest.
Yes. Yeah. She said, don't, she kind of made a face when I said the condition of the house will return to normal after a week, but just give me this week and we'll see what we can do here. And she let me have it. So thank you to her. So I hit A1, got my 18. So I think I got 2 18s and a 17. The next night I said, well, I've got one last night to fish this weekly tournament. Where am I going to go? And I'm a guy who will really examine, look at where, not my favorite places, but look at what's been producing and where. And I went back to the Quabog River where we had the tournament. Just went by myself one evening and it just didn't pan out. I got a ton of fish. I actually ended up scoring more points on the chronic trip than I did for the monthly. But I got a what did I get there? I got a big crappie, and I think I rounded out my NE5 category with a couple of pickerel and a couple of bass that just needed to go in. I see Rodney's commenting.
Yep. He says, need live scope on your yak. And I'm thinking to myself, that's probably going to happen. I'm just saying.
Probably not. I've been watching it, which I'll get into in a minute on another adventure.
Yep. Oh, it's probably going to happen for me.
Well, I've been watching it on Andy's Andy's bass boat. And there are a number of kayakers that I fish against that have it.
Oh, yeah. But it's not just having it; it's dialing it in and then knowing how to use it, and that's the geeky shit I love.
Yeah. I did watch. I'll get into it in a minute, but I did watch some incredible things happening underwater on Andy's bass boat the other day. But after A1 and after the Quabog River, next up we had. Oh no, I'm sorry. Sandwiched in between those two, we had a bit of a crazy adventure, and I didn't have a lot of high hopes going in with large bass, but it was a chance. Now, for anybody who's listening that's outside of New England and outside of Massachusetts has got some funky, geographical shit going on. Okay, yeah. So the Cape is on the coast; it always stays warmer. Then you climb up a little bit, and you've got some elevation around the middle of the state, around Worcester. Then it drops down into the valley. And then it goes up way high on the western side of the state. So it's almost like like that, like a, what do they call it? Like a hockey stick?
Yeah.
Kind of, So the Cape warms up first. Like right now, I'm betting those fish are spawning or close to.
Yeah.
All right. But versus the Berkshires, where I was at yesterday and the day before, those fish are still in just getting out of ice out mode.
Oh, yeah.
Like winter fishing for Cape Cod is happening.
They're like 4 weeks behind.
Yeah, it's well, I wouldn't go that far. It was starting to touch the 50s. Yep. But I mean, the waters on the Cape have got to be in the mid 60s or close to 60 right now.
Yeah.
So 10 degrees. I mean, it's a huge, huge swing, especially this time of year where those fish on the Cape are either, like I said, getting ready to spawn. Some of them might be spawning. They're full. They're at their point of, saturation. And if you're a weight measurement fisherman, this is the time of the year
when you want it. Yeah.
But up in the Berkshires, they haven't even gotten going yet. They're still at that get a nibble before it gets dark out phase, which I found out last night was fine. We did a good job. But so Delirious and I went up to Spookyville, the place we've described with the reclaimed cabins and stuff that are slowly rotting around the lake. You've been up there with me. That place is creepy as hell. And Delirious was dying to get out there. I said, all right, we'll meet you. We'll meet up there on whatever it was, Tuesday. And it was kind of a long shot for the monthly. And we went out there. We caught a few fish, or I caught. What the hell did I catch? I think I caught a few bass. And again, they were extremely lethargic. And I don't think he caught anything. I can't remember. Yep. But it was. Well, wait a minute. I got my notebook right in front of me.
I want to jump in here and mention that. So Jay Manning jumps in. He says Quabog River is at 42 degrees after being about 10 degrees warmer last week. The lake was at 45 to 49 at the surface. That sounds about right. I mean, this cold system really did slow things up, especially like when you're like, I mean, out at the Cape, it probably didn't take as much of a beating. Because you're still, I mean, even if you drop 10 degrees, you're still somewhere in the 50s. This had pushed back quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see exactly when. I haven't seen a fish on a bed yet.
No, we're not going to for a little while.
It's going to be a little while. And I want to say, I'd have to look back, but I want to say I think it was maybe like third week of April, maybe.
It changes every year.
Last year it was.
I could look through my database. There was one year on the Cape because we had a very, very extended cold spring.
Yep.
I remember going out camping in the middle of May or late May, and there was a storm system that was just finishing up, and it was almost Memorial Day, and those fish were still in pre-spawn on the Cape. But that was
for real.
Wow, that was
That's
years
a
ago.
Rare
Yeah.
situation. Yeah,
I keep an eye on that because every year is different. You never know what's going to happen. Like right now, we're kind of getting a little bit of an extended spring with that cold front that came through.
Yep.
So
it's less of a time thing and more of a temperature thing, and that's going to vary. But,
yeah, and there's a lot of factors that figure in the daylight. And it if the what is it? What's the term? What's the term for fish that live in salt and freshwater? It's not andrometous, is it?
No, I'm not sure. I know what you're talking about.
Androgynous.
Is it androgynous?
I don't know. Our staff biologist is going to yell at me if he's listening, but I think it's androgynous. It's called David Bowie. So
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, when the herring and the shad start coming up all the rivers, I mean, the bass are going to be turned on, and that's usually the last stage of their pre-spawn is when those things get there. So
are they German?
Who knows? Yes.
Okay.
Exploding shad and exploding herring. Delirious and I, we had a good time. It was fun being out there with him. We had a blast, but we didn't catch a lot. I only got 2 fish, a 14 and a 15. Like I said, I don't think he caught any. But that's the Berkshires this time of year. What are you going to do?
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Continuing on in 2 other Berkshire locations, Andy and I went out on his boat. Now, Andy has been absolutely killing it on the Chronic Trips tournament. And I believe he was in second or tied for first when we went out 2 nights ago. He was fishing during the morning and then said he was going to move lakes. And I said, well, I'll meet you. Where are you going? And he told me. And I said, well, why don't we try this one lake, this bigger lake up the Shears? And actually, you've been to it too. And
yep,
it's got pike in it. And I said, well, let's
get
see
on
what we
some
can
pike.
do. Yeah, let's see what we can do about some pike. Well, we were out there for like 6 hours with few minimal bites up in the north corners. And I said, all right, screw it. I have no other ideas. I'm lost on finding fish at this place. It's too new for me, and it's really big. And I said, well, maybe we bit off more than we can chew. We went to one wind-sheltered cove, and I got absolutely thumped on a lipless crankbait. I use Rapala ones mostly, but I do have a couple other kinds. This one was a Rapala Rattling Wrap. Got absolutely smoked, 28-inch pike. I'm on the board for the pike. I'm the only guy with the pike points for that. That would make me very happy.
It's a 4-pointer then, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Andy was very happy because he doesn't like he's very concerned with skunks in and out of his boat.
Yeah.
So he's had one skunk in his boat the entire time he's owned this new one, which is 2 years, and he was very unhappy with it. And the skunk was during ridiculous cold weather conditions.
Oh, yeah.
So I told him not to worry about it. And he's like, skunk's a skunk.
Yep.
So he was happy that I got the skunk out of his boat. And during that, right after I caught that northern, we got to see a bait ball form underneath us and a predator trying to get at the bait ball from different angles. It was kind of neat with the live scope. And I mean, it's great, but it's super expensive, and it's not something that I'll be investing in any time in the future.
Oh yeah. It's funny, as you were telling me that, I was reminded of, I went out with Tim Jacks on that same body of water, and we saw just these huge schools of perch. And I mean, that lake is really deep. And when we were fishing it was really clear. Was it also clear when you were out there?
Oh yeah. It was, I think visibility was down to about 9 or 10 feet.
Yep.
So
no shit. That's pretty good. So
there was no weed growth.
Yeah. Yeah. When you see just giant bait balls like that, like just chilling, and you're able to see the predatory fish that are nearby. It's absolutely amazing. That's how it was at Wachusett, actually. It was really, really clear. And when I showed up, I was like, well, I've got natural stuff on because like I'm starting to kind of follow that. Like I'd rather be prepared and be throwing natural than anything else in case it's clear versus showing up with like chartreuse and black and blue for everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what what I've been doing. And I was like, okay, so this will work out. I was expecting, especially after all that rain, that it was going to be pretty muddy, but it was really clear up where we were. I was pretty surprised. Not going to complain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not going to complain about that pike either. Put me in first place in that category.
Dude, that's awesome.
Bounce me up, which I'll get into in a minute on the chronic trips because there's been another shakeup at the standings. This chronic trips is just, this is it. I said it last week.
Yeah.
This is so fun now because everybody involved is turning in fish. And I think right now there's 20 something people in it. And I think like an easy, well over 50% are in contention to win it.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
shit has gotten close. And Nelson's in North Carolina shark fishing right now.
Of course, as you do.
Yeah, as you do. The only other fishing adventure I have, and then I want to talk real briefly about what I have planned coming up for this week.
Yep.
John and I went and checked out a lake up the Shears that you and I have frequented, and you know I'm a fan of. I'm not going to mention it. That has largemouth and smallmouth in it. Mm-hmm. And he and I went out there, and it's a clear, shallow, pretty shallow lake. Yeah. It was a little higher because of the recent rain and snow up there. First, I don't know, we got there, we got there at 4:30 yesterday, and then nothing. I think John got 2 fish real quick, and then we sat for 2 hours and got no bites, no nothing.
Yeah.
One of the 2 fish he caught, though, was a nice, like 15.5-inch smallmouth. So that was really good.
That's not bad. I think I saw a picture of that one. That was a good looking fish.
Yep, he put that up. And then we made our way around the lake, and I said, I saw fish on this one side. Let's see if they're hungry and make one last pass. And this was at maybe 5 till 7. It was starting to get dark out. The wind had picked up. And between 7 o'clock or 6:59 and 7:40 last night, those fish turned on, and it was a fish every couple of minutes between the two of us.
That's amazing.
It was awesome. Nothing huge.
Yeah.
But a lot. Yeah.
When the switch flips like that is so cool, Yeah,
that's like a winter thing I find is where fish will sit around right before it gets dark. That's like the warmest part of the day. They'll turn on for a little bit, and there's your window.
Yeah.
It was great. We kept our limits because they weren't big fish, and I don't mind eating large and smallmouth as long as they're under 15 inches. If they get over 15, you're talking mercury. I try to stay away from that. Yep. We kept our limits, and I've got a cooler to fillet when I get home today.
That's awesome.
And after we record today, I am loading up and going out to a lake in central Massachusetts that I've never fished before that does have northern in it. And Eric Graves, Gravy Fishing, wanted to get out with me, and he and I've been talking about it and planning it for it's been a while. I think we even tried to get out last year or something, and it just never happened. So I'm gonna get him out and get on the water, see what we can do, and then he's all yours this evening. I believe you're recording an interview with him tonight, right?
Yeah, we're recording later this evening. So I'm gonna right after we're done, I'm gonna just start putting the show together and get things ready to go so it can be up and out ASAP. Because I would like to try to get out and fish locally today, if possible, and then I've got that interview. And should be good. I'm just, we'll see what happens. We'll play it all together. But this week is a crazy week. My kids are off. So I don't have to worry about bringing them to school or working around the school day or anything. My wife is actually off this week. She's transitioning jobs, and now she works in a school system as a school nurse. So she's off this week, but she's leaving her other job and had elected to go in and help this new person get on, up to speed. That's taking her position there. So.
Team player.
Yeah, team player. Absolutely. I told her, I was like, you do realize that most other people would not do this. Like, I'm like, how many times have you started a position? It's been an absolute shit show when you've got there. You've had to put things in order. And she's like, no, I know. She's like, I just go and, do what I would expect somebody else to do. I was like, they would not. Just know that. I'm like, you're special. So, yeah, she's doing that. But she'll be around a lot more.
You know what? While she's doing all that training, I think you need to provide her a montage.
A montage? You think?
Yes.
A montage of anything specific?
What's some sort of a healthcare montage? Maybe the theme song to Doogie Howser, MD, or some shit.
Theme song to Doogie Howser, MD.
Do we have that?
Not at the top.
For everybody who's under 30 years old and doesn't know what the hell we're talking about.
I'm going to just pick a random one right here. This is here we go. When I tell you what it's called. This is called Billy the Doctor.
You got a banjo.
Oh goodness!
This is phenomenal. If you play this for your wife and tell her it's her new theme song, she's going to punch you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It doesn't take much for her to punch me. It's good.
Oh
my god, that is awesome. Boom, 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 boom. We're going to be recording a new episode of The Shit Show soon. That's going to be a good one. Yep. Elise is on the road, so this will be a traveling one. So it'll be interesting. And I've got to edit. I've got 2 that I have to edit to get done and put out soon. That we're looking to launch a little bit closer to the summer. We want to get about a half dozen or so in the can, so that way, because her schedule is going to get insane. But one of the things that we talked about in this last episode we recorded were top sheets. You know that when you buy a set of sheets, it comes with the fitted sheet generally for your mattress, and then a top sheet that goes over the top, and then whatever pillowcases are included. So we kind of went through a list of anglers, actually professional anglers, and she gave her opinion if she felt like they were a top sheet user or a top sheet loser, where they just lose the top sheet completely and it never sees the light of day once it goes in the linen closet. And that was an interesting and albeit random conversation, but that's what happens after a few libations.
That's the shit show.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line of the shit show.
Yeah. So, and we had a conversation about top sheets, Sean, and we're on the same page. Leave that thing out there for, like, when you...
You know the one time a year I like using them?
Summertime, when it's crazy hot. Yeah.
Yes.
Takes the place of the comforter, know?
Yes.
I definitely get that.
Yep. Hey, I'm looking at our list here, man. We put a pretty big fucking ding in this shit. We did everything except for the tournament wrap-ups.
Yeah. That's all we got.
Yeah.
Dive right in.
What was that?
Oh, that was just an Apple News Spotlight notification.
Oh.
No worries.
Please do not use our Dr. Bob theme song for your wife. We will sue your balls off.
No. It's royalty free. We're free and clear to use all we want. Some of these guys are going to be going to work listening to this show. They're going to be like, "What is wrong with these idiots?"
This should be the theme song for the "Fuck This Guy" segment. We'll just
really should.
Keep that in our back pocket.
Download as MP3. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool.
Let me jump right in.
Well,
you're keep it playing.
All right.
No, we can't. No,
yeah,
we can't.
We can't. We got to. We're a serious news organization. We got to be. We got to be on this.
We turned down an application from Walter Cronkite to be a part of this show. We got to keep it straight and narrow here.
We do. We really do.
That shit.
Oh, hang on. I can give you some news music if you're.
How about you know what news music would be great? That's not good.
That's not news music.
How about the streamer or the ticker music from behind what was it, Sam the Eagle on the Muppet Show when he used to do the news?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't have that nearby. So we'll try this one. It's called A Journalist's Dream. And you can take it away with the tournament update.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Look at that. Whoa. It's got some punch.
Does.
Here we are. Whoa. I want to get the flow going here before I start talking so I don't, like, mid-sentence have this punch come up and I don't know what's going on. I don't want my guitarist to start soloing over me. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I think you'll be all right.
This is the news dropout? All right.
Yeah.
This weekend was the opener for the MAKB Eastern Division at the aforementioned A1 site in Westboro, Massachusetts, which is a stump-filled, desolate wasteland. 25 anglers got out there. 2 of the 25 caught limits because of the weather conditions. That's how bad things were in Massachusetts this past week. Again, A1 provided a number of 17 and 18-inch largemouth and a couple of decent pickerel. Finishing 5th. I don't know how many fish he caught. I didn't write that down. With Gerard Elias. Good job, Gerard. Way to finish in the money. Finishing fourth, John Ferreira, friend of the show, been on a few times. Mm-hmm. And by the way, check out John's episode of the breakdown from last week. I was on there because was it last week? 2 weeks ago?
It was last week.
It was last week.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Check that out. I was on there talking. What was I talking? Quabog Pond tournament. Mike Morcone, who I fished against last year at A1 in the knockout tournament. A1 is one of his favorite sites, and Mike finished third. Great job. Then here's the two limit makers. Nate Shagnon, friend of the show, caught his 5 fish, finished second. Ken Wood finished first. 5 fish, and he got the lunker, 20-inch largemouth. Also in the money, pickerel lunker, good friend, Ari Stonehill. Ari and I fished together. We fished together in a knockout years ago and have kept in touch ever since. Great job on him getting a big 21 and a quarter inch pickerel. So MAKB Eastern Division is up and running. Their next event is, I believe, the end of May at Waquaket Lake in Barnstable out on the Cape. And hopefully I'll be able to get out on that one because I love Waquaket. I might even fish for bass. I might even fish for pickerel during that and just take my lumps in the bass category and just go out for big pickerel.
There you go. It's not a bad idea.
Yes. On to chronic trips. I can't say enough about this tournament. This is the epitome of what I think Seth and I both, envisioned when this got going. I'm going to go through the entire standings.
Do it.
Of people, because people have been pumping fish in. We'll start at the bottom. 1 fish submitted. It's fine. I'm not judging. Participation is paramount in this, and this is where everyone's a winner. Not everyone gets a participation trophy, but whatever.
Yeah.
Ted Douglas has 1 point. Ted's our buddy at Three Bells.
Yep.
Who does all their work, all their kayak work. He's the technician of the organization. Ted's got 1 in. He's got 1 point. Austin Carlson also has 1 point. Todd Tremblay has 2 points, but that is going to change as I saw he submitted something while we were recording. It was a trout. It was big. He might have taken the trout category. We'll find out. If he does, that's taking some points away from Mark, and we'll come back to that in a minute.
Oh, we will.
Derek Artioli, also of Three Bells, has 3 points. Oh God, is it Derek Bloom? I see. I should have had the names up. God damn it, Mr. Bloom, 5 points. And I put that in the wrong spot. I didn't update that. Boy, I'm really fucking prepared here with a nice theme song and everything.
Oh, it's all good. You got this.
I got this. All right. I'm letting the theme music down is what I'm doing. Let me take a step back. All right. Laura Heward, 4 points. Brock Jenkins, 4 points. Tim Jacks, 5 points. I believe it's Derek Bloom. If I jacked up their first name, I apologize, Mr. Bloom. 5 points. Nelson with 5 points. Berkshire Brett with 6 points. Jerry Howes with 6 points. Now, here's where I say everything gets interesting because you're within a fish of second place.
Yeah.
Okay. 7 points. Our main man, Sticky Fred. 7 points. John Connon. 7 points. Nate Shagnon. Then 8 points. We've got George Costa and Blake Dodson.
That's awesome, man. George is up there. That's great, dude.
9 points. Mr. Eggleston up in the Berkshires.
Yep.
And Teddy Forget. Now, Teddy was ruling the roost in the first week. Teddy's at 9 points now because that's the beauty of this tournament. Not only can you score points for yourself, but at the same time, take away points from people who are leading.
It's intense.
Yes. Now, top 3, but it's actually top 4 because there's a tie in there. Lip Gripper, our boy Mitch Skase.
Yep.
10 points, third place by himself. Mr. Quinn, who had jumped out in front, 11 points. He's in second place. Then we have a tie for first, which again, once I do some certification this morning, might not be a tie anymore. Myself and Mark Hewitt are tied at 12 points apiece.
Oh.
Now, if you remember some of the tournaments for last year, people were hitting the 20s to win.
Yeah.
We have 12 points at the top. 1 fish, if you take a category, gets you 4 points. So anybody with 9 points, you're going right to first. Anybody with 8 points, you're now tied for first.
Yeah.
6 points will get you into the top 3. That's half the field right there. There is nobody's out of this.
No.
This is awesome.
This is intense. And this week, this is why this is so crazy. Sean, tell them about what's happening this week with Chronic Trips in the virtual fishing tournament.
This week, what day? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the day.
Tomorrow.
So the day you're hearing this, if you're hearing this right now, or if you're a jig head and you're hearing this, it's tomorrow.
Yes, I'm sorry. The 420, as we all know,
as the kids say.
As the kids say, 420 is momentous holiday in certain circles. Chronic Trips is going to respect that. And for everyone who turns in a fish, whether it gets culled or not, I'm going to be able to see that you submitted a fish on 420. If you do submit a fish, you will receive a 1-point bonus. 1 point. Submit a fish. I don't care if it's a 4-inch bluegill. No, well, it's got to be legal.
It's got to be
6-inch bluegill or 8-inch anything else. Submit a fish. You will get a 1-point bonus. So I am blown away at this.
Yeah.
It's tight. It's fun. Whoever wins this, congratulations to you. Hopefully it's me, but we'll see. And I'm excited. So I'm going to get out there on a pike-filled lake with gravy fishing here in a couple hours and see what we can do. I still have to get a perch. I have not yet caught I made a list of shit I haven't caught yet, and I'm kind of keeping track of stuff. So I have my little Chronic Trips note here. I got my smallmouth last night, so I can cross him off the list. I have not caught a bowfin, catfish, perch, or trout. I'm being realistic. I don't think I'm going to get on the ocean. Probably no salt for me.
Yep.
And then I have my list of my NE5s that I need to update. So we'll see where it goes. I'm fucking ecstatic. This is great.
This has turned out to be an amazing tournament this month. I mean, not only just with the level of competition, as far as people getting on some fish and it being crazy. Like, let's be honest, Andy Quinn crushed it last week. I mean, like he went and turned this into like a real competition. But not only that, just the number of people competing is higher. It's right on par, I think, with the first month. Or maybe even the second month that we had done it. Like it's up there. So you get this many people competing, and it can go absolutely anywhere. It's freaking exciting. You mentioned perch, Sean, and I shared a picture of a perch that I can only describe as having what I like to refer to as Bobby roast beef belly. Look at that perch.
I thought that was a largemouth.
No.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
No, that can't be a perch. Look how big it is.
I have no idea.
What was that on Instagram?
Yeah.
I gotta look.
Yeah, he had the original post posted with Regram. It's Perch Zone is the name of the account. And yeah, I mean, look at some of these fish.
Huh.
Just massive. Absolutely massive. And I've caught some big perch, but not like that. I'm like, holy crap. But yeah, that one's built in the midsection like your old boy, BRB. Damn.
Yeah, well, you know what? I guess with the orange fins, you're right.
I was like, holy shit. I'm like, that's not a bass. I'm like, that is a perch.
And for all the anglers out there, we'll just delve into this real quick. We can always come back and get feedback on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with catching fish and taking pictures of them. You can either hold the thing out and make the fish look bigger and then get accused of holding it out and making the fish look bigger.
Yep.
Or you can hold it up to your body and the fish looks smaller. And then you say, well, that's a 5-pound bass or that's a 6-pound bass. You say, nope. Somebody will go, no, that doesn't look like a 6-pound bass. You're a liar. Yep. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know what I always do?
What's that?
I hold them out because if I'm going to get made fun of, I'm going to have it, I didn't even get made fun of. I'm going to be accused of being a liar. I'd rather be the other way and say, that's a smaller fish that looks big rather than a bigger fish that looks small because there's no win on it.
I'm gonna actually, you actually open up an amazing can of worms here. So, two things. I am probably, and I will say that I am like the long arm champion when it comes to holding fish, and that is primarily because it makes for a better photograph. You get that fish closer in with the camera, and I want to show you a little bit of an example what I'm talking about here. I had this image that I had posted of that bass I caught on Saturday, right?
Yep.
I'm going to show you what the original picture was, the one that Paul took of me. Where is it? Here it is. This is the original picture.
Yep.
You can't see that fish at all.
Nope.
You know, you can't see him at all. And I'm like, all right, so this is exactly why, like, I just say, if you can, like, you know, when you're taking pictures of yourself holding a fish, it sucks because sometimes, you know, I usually hold them right up by my face and take a selfie like that. But if somebody else is taking the picture, I'm absolutely going to hold that fish out in front of me to get as much of it seen as possible. I don't care that the picture isn't telling. I'm going to measure it and I'll post what the size is of it, you know, or I'll weigh it or whatever it might be for that situation. And as long as I know, I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't. I don't even break a sweat, you know. So you're right. It is damned if you do, but damned if you don't. I just highly recommend stop giving a shit.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know. I don't. I do my thing. I very rarely, you know, I'm fishing alone most of the time anyway, so I don't take a lot of pics. But like this one.
Yes.
So that pike looks enormous. Two things to keep in mind. I'm holding my arms out and I can palm a basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
So keep that, you know, keep the size of my hands in mind. And that was a 28.5-inch pike. That's not a very big pike. It's a big, I mean, it's fine. Nobody's
it's a
going to
good
sniff at
size
that.
fish, but yeah, it's. You start talking like 36 inches for pike, and that's where you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty good size fish, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But I you know, accounted for the chronic trips. I had a photographer on hand. I made the best I could do with the picture. So
yeah,
I recommend everybody hold it out.
Yeah.
Make it look big.
Take the best pic you can, because at the end of the day, you know, that's what you're doing is you're taking a photo. No good photographer goes, get way the fuck back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody. It doesn't happen. It's like, take a good pic. Especially if you're on a social media platform that's super visual, like Instagram, you want to remember these things. You want to get as much detail as you possibly can. So go for it, you know?
Exactly. I didn't mean to open up that can of worms. Sorry.
No, it's good.
We had some pictures. We took pictures.
We took pictures.
Yep. We did.
This was a great show. I mean, I think we crossed all the marks we wanted to.
We did
on the way down here. This is great. This is awesome.
A lot of fishing. Fishing is back.
Yeah.
And once again, I'll say it because I keep saying it every show. The fishing report is in hiatus for a little bit. We're working on something.
Yep.
I'm not going to be putting the time into it until this one thing happens. And then once this one thing happens, we figure out the format, we're good. So
yeah, good stuff.
It. There's your teaser. I have nothing else, my friend. You?
Yeah, no. That's all I've got. I've got an interview segment. In fact, potentially two guests for this one. Potentially. I'm going to try and squeeze them both in. And I think if we're doing so now, I think we'll be good. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and throw it a break, and then we'll come back with our interview segment and our outro.
Yes,
Sounds
sir.
like a plan. All righty, guys. Sit right where you are. Stay tuned, because we'll be right back with our interview segment right after this short message from Three Bells Outfitters. Check it out. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states, or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak, or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Hey, what's up, guys? Bobby Roast Beef here for our interview segment this week. Today, I've got a great one here for you. I have Northeast Wild Woman. Well, at least that's how you would know her on Instagram. She's a blogger from New England, talks about everything outdoors. It's Sheryl Magdycz. Sheryl, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent,
How are you?
excellent. I'm well. I'm very well. So it was a mutual friend of ours that kind of connected the dots. It was Nelson, one of our resident jig heads.
Yeah.
Awesome, very very cool. So yeah, he had suggested that we connect, and that's what we're doing. We're doing this little interview here.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Excellent, Sheryl. So let's go ahead. Let's actually dive in before we get into like the fishing interview questions and all that stuff. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do? Tell me about your blog too, because I've seen you've got a handful of posts up there now, and there's more stuff that's coming. So go ahead and kind of walk me through some of that stuff and let people know where they can find your writing.
So I've recently started this blog. The domain is northeastwildwoman.com. And you can find me Northeast Wild Woman on Instagram as well. So my cousin actually is super busy. She's getting her PhD. She's a stay-at-home mom and working full-time home at mom, with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
And she was talking about different blogs, and she had, an idea to write a blog about just, her everyday life. And I started thinking about, just what are the things that I like to do in my life. And two of the biggest things that are a huge part of my life are hunting and fishing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And there's not a lot of women out there that I even know in my personal life who, participate or even know, where to start. So I just thought, maybe if I could throw some things out there, educate some people, and maybe open some topics of discussion and connect with some local, other people in the hunting community and just, connect with other people like Nelson, for example.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's interesting you say that because this show is, I'm a father of two daughters. I love the outdoors. My daughters don't necessarily love it nearly the same way I do, but that's okay. Sometime in their life, they might, fall in love with the outdoors as well. Who knows? But, we have, it's so interesting that you say that because what we found is that there's a lot of small niche, either individuals or collective groups organizing events that are focused on women in the outdoors. For instance, we had Women of the Outdoors on a few months back talking about a couple of educational and just social events that they would do, outdoors. Like they would get together and do, a course on fly fishing or a course on, catch and cooks or something like specifically like that, with the idea being, so let's give women this resource where they can go and do this with other women and not feel like it's the old boys club or intimidating or anything like that. And on top of that, there's also, there's not enough, but it's getting better and better. We've got content creators out there that are women that are absolutely killing it. Andrea Navolo comes to mind. Christine Fisher is just killing it in KBF kayak bass fishing. As far as content creators on Instagram, Largemouth Sass, Fishing with Becca, and those are just some that we've worked with on the show. And I think that connecting those dots can, in time, I hope that's what's going to happen.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And I ultimately would love to have even just something local and outreach for women of all ages, not just specifically young girls, but women who, maybe their grandfather or their dad or their grandmother wanted, they like to fish. And by the time they got a little bit older, they weren't there to teach them anymore, So maybe it's always been, well, I'd like to do that, but I don't have anyone to teach me or I don't have anybody to get me started.
Definitely.
And that's the goal.
No, I think it's definitely commendable. And anytime you can teach anybody this type of a skill, I think is, you're doing a huge service to just everybody as a whole. So that's really awesome. My hat's off to you. Let's jump in and find out what your likes and dislikes are when it comes to fishing specifically. So, let's get into it. Why don't you walk me through how you discovered fishing, how it was that it became sort of a point in your life now to the point where you're driven to go and actually put down a statement on the internet, chronicling your adventures in the outdoors.
Yeah, so I don't even remember the first time I was taken fishing. My parents were super into it when I was a kid. My mom said she had, the outdoor backpack carrier, and if it was warm enough, the baby was coming with us and we were going fishing.
That's awesome.
So I was raised, I think I was probably a toddler when I was given my first push button pole, and we practiced all the time. And then my brother, who was born later on, it was a family fun thing to do. Bass fishing, trout fishing, not so much fly fishing. We did a lot of ice fishing growing up. It was just like a Sunday afternoon, let's go out, cook some food on the ice, have a good time. And it got us, especially kids, outside, which I think is, now you see less and less of. So I think that's a big part of it too.
Definitely. You do see a whole lot less of it. But what I have noticed is that I actually read this today in a Facebook fishing group where somebody said, the internet is ruining all these fishing spots and all this other stuff. I personally couldn't disagree more, because there were other ways that fishing spots got ruined before the internet was anywhere near as common as it was. But the one thing that it has done is kind of made sport fishing cool. And so, you see a lot of younger kids really, really excited about going and catching fish and really getting into it and paying attention to the details. Stuff that when I was a kid, I never ever paid attention to. For me, fishing was, a hook on a line with a bobber and a worm, and you just waited, and that was it. Yep. Now it's a whole other ball game, and it's great to see that it's kind of taking off like that. What's your favorite season to get out there?
That's a really tough one. I have to say I truly love ice fishing.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a fan of the cold, but to go out and really bass fish on the ice and be on the water when it's frozen like that. We had some really fun times this year up in Vermont, up in Wells, Vermont.
That's awesome.
And even here in Western Mass, we caught a lot of fish and we put in a lot of time, and it was a new adventure every time. Super fun, different every time. Yeah.
This was actually for ice fishing. This winter was great.
Oh, it was a great
for
season.
A lot of people. Yeah. There were a lot of people getting out there, and I totally missed the boat on getting geared up and ready for ice fishing. I haven't ice fished in forever, but I don't think I've had anybody say that for their favorite season, specifically ice fishing. I think that's a new one. A lot of people go to, they'll say springtime because the weather's not blazing, crazy. Or then you have some people who are just like, I like to be out there in the heat of the summer. That's what I want. And then, like myself, I'm a big fall guy. I kind of like the, football starts. There's less people going out on the water. It's more, everybody's got something that they like, but I can get behind ice fishing.
Yeah.
Now, is there any kind of a specific weather condition that'll make you decide to just call it a day?
I'd have to say that sleet can be a real mood killer, but the worst is if you don't have a place to shelter from the wind. Yeah. If the wind is crazy, it's just going to make it that much colder, and then you get wind flags, and it's not as much fun when the wind is whipping. So sometimes, you get out it's, super windy, then we might call it, or we might try it and then a couple hours later call it early.
Exactly. Now, do you kayak fish at all?
I don't usually. I fish with another person once in a while in a canoe. I'm not a huge fan of kayaking, but
Gotcha.
If I can get out in the bass boat or in the canoe, I'll go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As a kayak fisherman, the wind is the worst. It's the biggest challenge. It can, and I think, with experience, you can kind of make it work for you a little bit, depending. But as we're just starting out, it can be super, super frustrating. And you do a lot of paddling. It's just
I was going to say, I can imagine you get blown around in circles a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. Now, as far as types of, specific bodies of water that you like to fish, are you more interested in larger lakes that you can break down? Are you more about small ponds? Are you focused mainly on current?
I'd have to say I enjoy small ponds better, because on any given day, especially when I'm fishing, in warm weather fishing off the shore, I can cover more ground in a shorter period of time if I'm on a smaller body of water and try to find, the sweet spot, so to speak, for the day. So, and locally, that's more of what we have up where I live in the Northeast, in the Western Mass area. It's a lot of smaller ponds.
Oh, there's no shortage of smaller ponds out here. In fact, yesterday I was at 4 different ponds all day, went and bounced between them, and I couldn't get a bite for the life of me, but my buddy was just getting so lucky with like just these random bycatches here and there, and we ended up getting on them toward the end of the day. But yeah, it took 4 different ponds to do it, and that is kind of nice because you can kind of break it down and say, we're going to move, we're going to bounce, just kind of go elsewhere. It is kind of nice. What about when you're open water fishing, what is your number one, like, or your short list of confidence baits?
I almost always have trout worms or crawlers just as a staple.
Okay.
If I'm going for bass, I'd have to say, just the regular lures that I would always carry, my dad calls them ripple and red fins. I can't think to my name who makes them now, but it's a floater. And in spring bass season, they're usually pretty stable. Usually you don't change your bait when you're out with them on the water because you have such good luck. But yeah, I like to bottom fish too a lot for trout with power bait. Mm-hmm. So we'll do a lot of that in the spring too.
That's awesome. That's huge. Let's talk about, this is a good one. So there's a saying in the fishing industry that fishing tackle actually catches more fishermen than it will catch fish. In your lifetime, what do you think the most ridiculous sort of tackle trend that was out there? And the follow-up question for that is, did you use it and how did it work?
Tackle trend. So we had one year, I'll never forget this. Mm-hmm. My dad had us looking in, I think it was Walmart, for these lures called Super Dupers. Okay. And they were supposedly the new trout trend. Okay. All right. And he said they look like a paperclip. Well, they don't look like a paperclip, but they were kind of like a horseshoe kind of, but flat.
Yeah. And
we ended up trying them and we trolled and we ended up catching some really nice fish.
Really?
On them. Huh. Hit or miss, but yeah, and it's funny because I've looked at, after the fact for them and I haven't seen them out again.
No kidding.
Like a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they just never took off or,
I don't know. They seem to work fine,
Yeah. Yeah.
Better for trolling though. We would try them on casting and it wasn't the same.
Not the same.
Steady feel. Yeah.
Now I've come from a school of where a bad day of fishing with the right people can just make an awesome experience. Sometimes it really is more about the company you're with and the conversation and the memories you're creating while you're out there doing this, regardless of what you're catching. With that said, what are the top 3 people that you would like to fish with? And they can be alive or dead.
Oh man, that's a really good question. I wasn't expecting that one. Okay, so I would have to say, if I'm gonna go celebrity, I'm gonna go with maybe like Shania Twain.
Okay, all right.
She wants to do some bass fishing. She's probably one of my favorite singers when I was a kid.
I just ended my Friday night trivia night with "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" for no reason other than I happened to hear it on the radio earlier in the week, and I was like, yeah, this will work. And yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I would probably say, goodness, top 3. Gotta have my dad in there for sure. He's always my fail-safe fishing buddy, And I think my grandfather, who actually just passed away.
Oh.
I did another fishing session in with him. He didn't go very often, but I could fit one more in with him.
Definitely.
Top everything off.
No, that's common. There's a lot of people will say, or I'll hear, I never met my, my great grandparents or anything like that. I'd love to fish with them, and I know that they were big into the outdoors because of pictures or something like that. So there's generally always everybody, but it's like the celebrity ones. I'm always intrigued, always, because I don't know, maybe you can tell a lot from somebody when they're just like, I think I'd like to go out and fish with them, and sometimes it's about like how creative they are with their answer. I mean, sure. Shania Twain's a good one. I can definitely get behind that. Now, what is it that you're listening to on your way to go fishing that like pumps you up for the day?
Oh man. Oh hi. It's Probably country music.
Yeah.
Not to be too stereotypical, but probably country music.
Well, I feel like country music and classic rock, it's like that's
yeah,
a
classic
go-to.
rock or 80s rock is,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
There's
So,
some days, although I'll tell you what, this last day I went out with my buddy this last trip where we got on him right at the end. I said, I got a playlist to play for you. And I played him this handful of songs from this artist called High Speed Chase. And they're all bass fishing parodies of like current hip hop songs.
Interesting.
So there's like a bass fishing version of Megan Thee Stallion's Savage. Like there's one. The first one I played was about Bill Dance.
Wow, interesting.
But yeah, very very interesting. That was on the whole other end of it though, not necessarily to get pumped up. What's your goal for fishing or for the outdoors in general? Like, where would you like to see yourself in like the next 5 to 10 years?
Still avidly fishing. I'd like to learn how to fly fish. I started a little bit a couple of years ago, and it's an art form that I would really like to learn more about.
I couldn't agree more.
It's very hard. I've watched people try and fail, and just you got to keep trying until you just somehow pick it up. It's a lot of practice and a lot of knowledge of the entomology. The insects that you're flying with and where you're fishing, and there's a lot that goes into it. So I think that I'd really enjoy, getting into that sport, especially up here where there's so many streams and brooks and rivers.
Oh yeah. It's crazy. I can remember a few years ago, I was at the Eastern States, sportsman show. And there was, one of my buddies wanted to check out one of the seminars about fly fishing. And I had always, I feel like as a conventional tackle angler, a lot of times we might look at fly fishermen and think, oh yeah, you put your waders on, you have your little fly box, you go out with one rod that does its job, you whip it back and forth, and maybe a trout bites it or something like that. But I did not realize how many people go out and fish for smallmouth, for carp, for pike on flies. And do it like with precision and accuracy, like it really is a whole other level. And there's I almost think of fly fishing as almost like an entirely separate culture in general. It's
absolutely, it's
crazy to, and it's when you learn how to do it, and you can do it well. I mean, it's just amazing,
Yeah, for sure.
And I think actually it was at that seminar where I said to my buddy, I think my exact words were, "This is not for me. I am having a hard time not cutting off a spool or reel of my bait casters every once in a while. Let's go ahead and not overstep. I think this might not be for me yet, but we'll get there. I do want to try it someday." Now, have you traveled anywhere to fish with the sole purpose of fishing?
Let's see. I think just like charter, we've gone on some deep sea fishing trips.
Cool.
Out of Connecticut, we've gone and gotten some bluefish. And
nice.
The first time I went, I was pretty young, maybe like 8 or 9. And we're dropping our lines, and I'm like looking at my father, like, well, how do we know we get a bite? And he just goes, well, you'll know. And I think it was about 5 seconds later, I felt like my arms were almost ripped out of my sockets, So that was always a good time. Super fun.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff. And always like saltwater fishing, especially as a kid, is always just like it's a mind-blowing sort of experience.
Completely different experience. Definitely. From catching a perch or a bluegill or even a bass out of the pond.
Yeah. Oh, 100% it is. Now, is there a specific fishing destination or a dream trip that you've got on the bucket list that you would love to absolutely go and make happen?
Damn, that's a good one. I think I would have to say probably out west, more like river fishing. I would love to try that out, especially if I can get into fly fishing and try both. I think that would just be like a once in a lifetime experience.
Yep. Those Pacific Northwest states, they're like amazing and just, absolutely. In fact, I just watched a video on the Hookset Hoodlums YouTube channel with a guy over on Instagram, a guy, Jeff Holloway. He's on Instagram, is Big Nasty 186. He's a big tattooed Filipino guy that wears a cowboy hat, and he is the loudest fly fisherman you'll ever meet. And he was sharing some stories about fishing in Wyoming and fishing in. I think he lived in Colorado for a little while, but he's like, it's a whole other planet out there. Like it is just the fly fishing culture is crazy. Locally, we have the Swift River, and that's sort of like the destination spot where a lot of people go to, but like for locals, that's the first place I think everybody thinks of. Yeah. But out there, it's just like you got your pick. You know, you can. Yeah,
and it's crazy. I've been following. I'll follow a lot of accounts on Instagram and just watching the stories. Like, it's incredible, and just it's you just watch and you watch them fly fish, and I'm just like dumbfounded watching them do it. Like, and people who do it well make it look effortless.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Really do.
It's like figure skating,
Exactly.
And we know how bad that can go. If you're not, it can be really, really bad. Now, here's a couple of gear related questions, and these are just, I mean, if you're, if I know I've had some guests that were just not into talking about gear, and that's totally cool. But so like generally when you go out, what is your typical rod arsenal that you're bringing out with you for rods, reels? How do you string them up? What do you?
I usually bring 2 rod reel combos. One is probably older than me. It was my dad's, and now I've been using it for the last couple of seasons. And then actually I have a rod and reel combo that I bought on Amazon recently that I really like.
Oh, all right. Nice. Which one?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
It was one that I went in, had good reviews, and I just kind of picked, and it worked. It's worked so far. Yeah. So pretty good. I mean, tackle wise, like just a box, your basic necessities. I try to travel as late as possible.
I think that's kind of the challenge for a lot of people is, there's a saying that, for an angler, fishing rod and reel combos are basically like the golf clubs of our course. Yep. And it would be so simple to just say, well, I have one rod that's dedicated to everything. But especially if you're bank fishing or on a small boat where you don't have the storage, that's hard to lug around. So you find yourself having to try to make things as versatile as you can, in order to be able to do all the things or focus specifically on different tasks for that journey. And sometimes that works out well, sometimes not so much. But
a lot of times I find myself with one, if I have the 2 rod and reels, one is usually dedicated to like an off the bottom that I can set up and just leave, and then the other one I'll cast and try different lures.
There you go.
So try to get it from both sides and see what's working for the day.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I've done that before where I'll be bank fishing and it's super slow. I'll just take, whatever I've got tied on for a drop shot, and I'll just go and let it sit dead, and let it just kind of hang out there. Occasionally something will pick up, I'll get a bite that way. But other than that, now this is a crazy one. So there's sort of like the Jigs and Bigs like challenge right here.
Okay.
So there's this mystery pond with mystery conditions. You don't know what it's going to be like, but you're going to go fish it that day. And we're going to give you the Jigs and Bigs corporate credit card to go and put together a single rod, a single reel, and you can string it up however you want. And then what lure are you going to throw with that?
Oh, goodness. Just one lure, huh?
Just one. Like, what are you going to go and work?
Probably something in a spinner fashion. Probably some sort of spinner bait, whether it's a rooster tail or, something like that. I've seen trout and bass and pickerel pulled out with those, pretty exclusively. They're pretty universal as long as you have the weight behind them, to get where you need to go in the pond with your cast.
Exactly.
So probably something like that. I'm left-handed, so I usually prefer just the flip open reel. I'm not usually a huge fan of, the bait casters with the thumb hold. Yeah,
I'll tell you, so what's funny is I am right-handed. I'm actually pretty ambidextrous, but my right hand is my dominant hand. And I use left-handed reels for exactly the reason you said, because I grew up with spinning reels, and you can switch the position on a spinning reel.
You can, yep.
I've always been, you flip open the bail, and when I'm casting, I want to cast with my dominant hand. It doesn't make sense for me to cast with that hand and then switch over to reel. I don't, it's bizarre. So I use left-handed reels myself, but it is exactly that.
That's
reason.
crazy. Yep.
So let's talk this show. This is the cornerstone question of the entire program, and it's a two-parter.
Okay.
This kind of lets us know, what we're dealing with here. Okay. I need 2 stories from you, Sheryl. I need one story of great, epic, proportions, like the moment you were most proud of on the water. And it could be anything. It could be a PB, and if it's not a PB, you're welcome to share your PB as well. It could be something where something went tremendously wrong or crazy and you were able to help out or something like that. But whatever the story is that you're most proud of. And then on the flip side, I need you to share with me your biggest, wrong story. The biggest epic fail.
The biggest epic fail. Well, there's probably more of those than there are.
Everybody's got way more of those. That's super common. Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Goodness. Most exciting story, I think, would probably be, man, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I think actually it was this past winter.
Okay.
I caught the first ever, my first ever smallmouth out of a pond in Vermont. And it was also a personal best for a bass. So I never caught a smallmouth out of the ice before.
That's awesome.
Just, it was set up. And when I pulled it out, I didn't really think anything of it. And my dad is over there and his friend are going, "Oh my God, get your camera. That's a big fish."
Yeah.
And it just, I didn't realize it until I held it up and I was like, "Oh, wow."
That's awesome.
It was really fun because especially ice fishing, you don't ever know what you're pulling up. I mean, you might have an idea, so it's kind of a surprise when you get it to the hole.
You're absolutely right because sometimes you just don't know, and you're like, okay, and you can try to target different species, but it's sort of like you're not targeting specific cover other than just dropping straight down, even if you're jigging. You know what I mean?
You're either usually fishing off the bottom or under the ice, and you don't really change. I mean, we use pretty exclusive. We use just bait shiners, so it's not like we're trying different baits and different holes or anything. It's usually the same across the board.
It's like whatever bites, but that's the thing. They got to eat, and they will. They definitely. That's awesome. I love smallmouth. Smallmouth are my favorite species to catch. They're just. They fight unbelievably. They're just absolutely beautiful. They're amazing.
Oh, the fish was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So cool. So it was fun.
Nice. So what about the epic fail?
The epic fail. I one time pulled in a really nice largemouth at a fishing derby, and unbeknownst to me, as I had it gilled and was walking around the edge, she fell off and went back into the water, And the worst part was people I were fishing with were on the other side of the lake and they saw me drop the fish into the water.
Oh, that sucks. We've all had that happen though. Actually, last summer I had something very, very similar happen where I was fishing a drop shot stupidly on this one area where on gear that was way too light to be able to flip a fish up as high as I needed to. And I had my youngest daughter was with me. My oldest daughter was hiking around the pond, and I hooked into just a gorgeous largemouth, absolutely gorgeous. And I'm like, I gotta grab the leader. I gotta grab the leader and try and drag him up. There is no other choice, So I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try and do it as smooth as possible without jarring anything. And that line snapped. Almost as soon as I grabbed it and started lifting up, it was just done. The entire rig went with him. I'm like, oh damn it. Oh, it was just not good. But hey, what can you do?
We all have those stories. It happens to the best of us.
Exactly. And I feel like if you don't have more epic fail stories than you do huge, proud stories, exciting stories, you're due. And I'm afraid of how it's going to go. You know what I mean? At least if you got a good collection, you're
It'll
like,
creep up on you eventually.
yeah, I've been here before. That's awesome, Sheryl. So go ahead and promote your stuff, promote your blog and your social media and everything. It's an opportunity for you to kind of let people know where to find you, find out more about you, and if you know whatever any projects you have going on, it's a good opportunity to go ahead and mention it.
Okay, great. No, the blog is actually a fairly new project, so it's super exciting for me. I post twice a week on northeastwildwoman.com. You can subscribe directly there, or you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Northeast Wild Woman on Instagram and N_East Wild Woman on Twitter. I've also been posting on a lot of the Massachusetts fish and hunt groups on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a part of that, you would see it there. Basically, the goals that I have is I want to open up more topics for discussion, find out what are people's questions and how can we answer them? How can we learn from each other? Because everybody has a certain skill set. And I think that that's the biggest goal, is to educate myself and maybe educate some other people along the way.
Yep.
And just like you said earlier, connect those dots and strengthen the community, because without other anglers, there's nobody to compete against. And that's sometimes the most fun part.
Exactly.
Like you said, either competition or nobody's catching anything and everyone's hanging out in the boat having a great time.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I think the community is the best thing that the fishing, it sounds stupid, but the community itself is the best thing the fishing community has going for it. Catching fish is one thing, and that's awesome. But, bringing people together and learning and growing and sharing information, that's huge. I think that's awesome, Sheryl. So, Hey, thank you very much for doing this. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to send me a picture of you with just an absolute monster catch. Like holding a big fish is ideal. And send me a picture, because what I'll do is I'll utilize that in the artwork for this episode when that goes to run.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks a bunch, Sheryl. We appreciate you coming on the show and having a great discussion, sharing some of your information and stories with us. Hope you get out there and slay them this spring.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
All righty, take care now. Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef here for Jigs and Bigs, and we have a doozy of an interview for you guys today. We have 3 guests today that all have something in common. 2 things in common, actually. Not just fishing, but fishing and beer. These are all craft beer makers, and we're gonna talk a little bit about both. I've got CJ Eldridge, Ray Berry, and Chris Peterson. Gentlemen, how are you? Do us a favor and tell us a little bit about your breweries and a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. Hey, I'm CJ Eldridge, as Bobby mentioned. Part of Arc Point Brewing Company. I am one half of the representatives from that, as Chris Peterson is the other half. I like to consider myself the better half, but we'll let you guys determine that.
I'm the
So we're both actually at Westover Air Reserve Base. We actually were stationed and worked directly with Sean for an extended period of time.
You poor guys. I'm so sorry.
The other thing is, Sean and I used to talk about old school wrestling a lot too, so it was good. It's good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're up at Westover. We started our brewery right around 2016 out of Belchertown. Chris started home brewing a lot of that, and actually, Chris, I'll let you tell that part of the story.
No, so I just moved into a new neighborhood, and my neighbor invited me over, and asked if I was interested in doing a homebrew batch, and I immediately fell in love with it, and kind of dove into the science and started asking all these questions that my neighbor didn't have answers to. So, like anything else, you kind of take to the internet and start reading a ton of books, and it was just a massive rabbit hole for me that I started becoming incredibly passionate for it, and brewing so much beer that I couldn't drink it, at least not in a healthy manner. So I'd start bringing them to work to all the guys at the base, and they started lining up for him, asking if they could offer me money to make sure that they got the next batch, and one thing led to another, and I just approached CJ about taking it taking it seriously, and we ended up applying for a license with a few months after that, and been history ever since.
It's awesome. And I've been lucky actually to work with all of you guys at various trivia events, at tasting rooms, and different establishments where I've worked myself. And Ray, that brings us over to you. Tell us a little bit about your beer.
Okay. See all these books behind me?
Yep.
I'm like Chris. No, I'm not a home brewer, but White Lion Brewing in Springfield, Massachusetts. First craft beer brand to go to market in the city. City had a rich history of brewing pre-prohibition. Mm-hmm. It was an anchor for the region. I mean, breweries that were pushing over 100,000 barrels on an annual basis, but after prohibition, that pretty much fizzled out. So just happy to bring back some of the brewing to the city. It's got a long history. White Lion's a symbol of good for humankind, so we like to be community-oriented. We have a great relationship with Arc Point. And a great appreciation for just craft beer, especially in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all of the great breweries in Western Mass. So, we're just happy to be part of that craft beer conversation and continue to try to better ourselves as time goes on, and hold down the city of Springfield.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is it now? I mentioned this in the pre-interview with Ray. We were talking about COVID, but from my end of the way the pandemic it sort of decimated my business for a couple of months, which is actually how this whole podcast came to be. I had nothing else to do with my time really than to go fishing and talk to this guy about fishing. And that's ultimately like what ended up happening. What was it like the last 10 to 12 months for you guys having to shift gears? I know that White Lion, you guys have been going through a process of a brand new facility. What happened with that?
Yeah, so we were probably a month or two into construction when the pandemic just gripped everything and crippled everything.
Yep.
I think it was like the month of February or March when things really started to, realization started to settle in and things and restrictions started to come into play. So we had an anticipated opening date of June of 2020. And I think we pushed construction back 2 or 3 or 4 months. Then we dibbled and dabbled once there was a better understanding around the pandemic, but really couldn't go full boat on it. So we've been really limping into our finish line, literally. And, we're just very fortunate enough with, to have a good team and a good landlord and good partners that are very much understanding. And so the tap room and the brewery, pretty much the brewery's done. We've been brewing on site since October of 2020. But the tap room is probably 99% complete. They were in there doing some cleaning today. So some minor cosmetic stuff needs to be addressed. And then the kitchen, which is a key component for us.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously now everyone knows with the pandemic, you got to have a food element. So we were always going to have a food element in the space, but we pretty much enhanced it, thinking long term, not knowing what could happen 2, 3, 5 years from now.
Yep.
So the kitchen's probably, I got to say, 95% complete. So we're not that far away. We got to come back and get some architectural plans stamped on that side of the equation and have some city inspections. But we're not too far away. But it's been hard. It really has been.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's got to be a challenge if nothing else. Yeah.
It's been a headache. Absolutely. But good support from the community.
Yep.
Good support in general. So, we're almost there. We're almost at the finish line.
That's awesome, man. That's good news. And that's the one thing I think, the beer community really, I mean, it's not unlike the fishing community. They stick together, and that's one thing that I've seen, especially in my line of work, that's one thing that people were definitely down to do was drink and dabble with trying different beers and, maybe get out of their comfort zone, I think a little bit more than usual. And so, I mean, for craft beer, I'd have to say that if nothing else, though it does make it a huge obstacle, at least you guys, you're still in it. And if there's still a huge demand, it's just the creativity as far as getting things there. What about with Arc Point? How have you guys been affected? How are things going and getting back over the hump?
Yeah, so it hurt us and helped us at the same time.
Yep.
Um, at the time, we were in the process of trying to redevelop a space in Belchertown, um, and just kind of just build that up and lease out an area. But when the pandemic hit, things stopped, and that just stopped everything for us. We had just got quotes from everybody for what the build out was going to cost. We were just structuring everything to get approved for it, and then everything stopped. Um, so what that did for us is kind of made us focus on our canning runs. So we started doing that a little bit more after everything settled down, and we realized that people were still drinking, and they were going more toward, the craft and they're still going to the back of stores, and they're still going to get their thing. So we came back and hit the canning run again. And one of the huge benefits for what we just did is we actually linked up with White Lion during this pandemic, and now use them as our distributor. So that was a huge bonus for us.
Yeah.
That put us on, kind of another, put us on the map through all of Massachusetts, not just Western Mass. And so they've helped us out tremendously with that, and really got our name out across the state. So that was one of the good things that came about it. But we're still pushing towards getting our spot and location for Belchertown, and I think we have something, hopefully something lined up pretty good here for us.
That's awesome. That's good news. That's really good. Now, there was something I always like to, there's this spot, the way we book these interviews, this little area where there's an item where folks can jump in. Can you guys tell me a little bit about the collaboration with White Lion, 67 Degrees, and Crew Brew, and what it is that you guys are working on together and how it's all coming along?
Yeah, so this was an awesome project. It really hits home throughout this whole process. But what it is I saw an article on Facebook that included those guys. It actually included Brockton as well. But I saw it was about all of the black brewery owners in Massachusetts. And, kind of brought tears in my eye, reading it and seeing some of the numbers. 1% of craft breweries are owned by minorities, owned by black people. So I thought that was really crazy, and it was an inspiring story to see.
Yep.
So my idea was since I was just inspired by reading it, was get together with these breweries and to try to brew a beer together and show that, hey, it's more than just articles and everything else. Like, let's do something together.
Yeah.
And when I first bought it, I wasn't sure where it was going to lead. Then Ray had brought in Holyoke Community College has a program that they developed later in the year in 2020. So it was perfect timing to reach out to them and try to use what we can for our proceeds to go towards the scholarship for a person of color.
That's awesome.
And, all the different breweries were really awesome with the project and really trying to, we got to see it through today. It's today we actually canned the beer.
That's
so
awesome.
I'll be going out to distribution. Yeah. I'll be going out to sell at White Lion on Wednesday, as well as on Saturday. And Crew Brew and 67 Degrees both have some kegs that they brought and some cans that they brought to their location. We will sell there as well, and they'll be distributed as well.
That's huge.
Ray could probably tell you. Yeah, Ray could probably tell you. Their crew does an awesome job of distributing, and for the most part, almost all of the cans are already accounted for. So.
No kidding.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And what a great way to do it, to have like an actual beer in hand that kind of is the culmination of everything. Like the that basically comes from the inspiration of even just that single article. That it's like the butterfly effect, like you get this one little iota of inspiration, and then it just kind of blossoms, and look at what you can turn it into. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring.
Yeah. That's huge, man. So now I'm going to make a broad assumption that all of you guys are avid fishermen.
Novice at that.
Let's go ahead and go through, because I know.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go.
Because our
Go ahead.
listeners, I mean, our listeners, a lot of that, our audience is beer drinkers, and they're going to love this no matter what. So let's go ahead and go through. I'm actually going to call up some questions here. Why don't we start actually, CJ? You kind of got the ball rolling here with Sean. Let's go ahead and jump in and tell me how fishing was introduced in your life, and sort of walk me through the journey, if you would, and then we'll go through with Chris and Ray as well.
Sure. So I actually started. My stepdad at the time in Kentucky. I mean, I was probably in 4th or 5th grade, so I was younger, and he actually introduced fishing to me. He used to fish quite a bit, and so I started fishing with him. And I actually I was really into it at that age, all the way up until probably I want to say 6th grade, right before in 7th grade. I was very big. As weird as it is, I watched the still dance videos. We did all that stuff. We would go out super early in the morning at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. We would go out and go fishing to all these different places. So although it being a short little stint of fishing, and obviously quite a bit of time ago, I used to love it a lot. And occasionally went a few times, as I got older as well, to include hopefully a big fishing trip that our shop is actually trying to organize for work to go out this spring, go deep sea fishing.
That's awesome. That's great, man. And that's the beauty about it. I was just having a conversation with somebody about fishing. This is something that I would argue that even more than something, and I've been a DJ for 30 years, I would say even more than music, it's ancient and it connects people on a global level. It's something that's been going on since the beginning of time. There were cavemen who fished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one of those primal sort of things. And I feel it can really unify people, if done the right way. It's pretty awesome. Ray, let's jump into you. Tell me about how fishing has kind of been involved in your life at all, how you were introduced into it, and kind of walk me along your story.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of freshwater fishing.
All right.
I must have been probably around CJ's age. I grew up in this neighborhood that had a freshwater stream, probably I don't know, quarter mile away. We used to just all get together after school or during the summer and walk in. Who had the bragging rights around who caught the biggest trout that day. So.
Nice.
Trout fishing was my thing. Freshwater, stocked fish. And I was in New Jersey. So when I came up here to Massachusetts to go to school and settle in, it really skipped me for a while. But I got back into it probably about 15 years ago.
Nice.
And started hunting down some of the local waters and a couple of blogs online. And, obviously Facebook started to become very attractive. And there was, the different pages on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a couple kayaks. I got a bass tender.
Oh,
I got a
yeah.
18-footer in the 18. Remember the old 2-seater bass tenders?
Yep.
I got one of those. I got I got a 5-seater in the garage. I haven't taken that out in a while. But every season I get geeked up, ready to do it, and then just competing priorities keep me roped in, but I'm gonna try to make another effort this year without question.
That's awesome.
But I dig it. All freshwater. I never been deep water fishing, but anything in Western Mass or Central Mass, Western Mass, I'm trying to hit it. Yeah. Without question.
I love it, man. I'm all about it too. It's it's one of those things. I put it down for a year because I had a terrible year, and I was like, this might not be for me. And I'm so glad I picked it back up. It was the best thing I ever did. Best thing. Chris, what about you?
Incredible.
So I'm incredibly novice, I think, compared to all of you guys. But for me, when I was younger, my family and I used to go visit my grandmother in Vermont, and she lived on this decent sized farm, and it had a nice flowing brook going through it, and we always had childhood memories of building up, damming it up with a bunch of rocks and everything, and swimming in it and fishing here and there. Never really caught anything back then, but that's definitely where it started.
Yep.
And then, growing up, middle school, high school time, a bunch of my friends and I would go to a local reservoir and do some fishing there. But it's been so hit or miss and spotty in terms of like how frequent I've gone that probably haven't gone since high school until recently. Not too long ago, I got engaged, and my fiance, her 12-year-old son, is super big into fishing. So
yep,
it's kind of rekindled that to where we're starting to go out when the weather is nice, and it's been pretty awesome to just fish with a young boy and like kind of teach him some stuff.
Yep.
Even how simple and basic I am with it, but yeah, it's definitely something I want to get into more, and definitely I would love to go take like a charter out deep sea fishing too.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a whole other ball game. It's like it's fantastic. It's funny too, like you mentioned, young kids. Now more than ever, when I'm at, like I can remember last spring I was fishing. I like to fish like a lot of real small ponds, like even like college campuses and stuff. And I was leaving this one spot, and there was this kid, must have been like 8 or 9 years old, and he asked me if I had caught anything, and I was like, yeah, I caught some stuff. He was walking along this trail with his mom, and I had some pictures of what I had just caught, so I caught that. And then he starts asking me all these questions about like what baits I was throwing and like, what kind of gear I was using. And that's not weird these days. Like the internet has really made this younger generation much more aware. And I mean, fishing has changed obviously from when I was his age, quite a bit, when low profile bait casters were not, a commonplace when I was a 7-year-old kid. Just that wasn't the case. It was somewhat of a different kind of animal, and it was just, it's crazy. Like some of these kids, they're like, I learned stuff from them. You would never expect that this young generation. So like as a sport, fishing, I think, is really like almost seeing like a small and early renaissance kind of in a way, like the way it's sort of coming, kind of bouncing back.
I mean, one might even be one of the few good things to come from this pandemic, realistically, because there's
100%
between, that kids could go out and do. So
yep, it's true, and you have like, if there's so few points of light in the last 365 days, almost literally to the day, so many few points of light that have been had, but it's like that is definitely, I think, a major one. I love this next question because, like, Sean is, I would consider Sean a relatively well accomplished tournament angler. Like he is a wealth of information. I learn so much from him all the time. But fishing is different things to different people. Sometimes it's about, being competitive and like besting yourself and engaging your progress. Other times it's about, the trophy. You're about, you want to catch this amazing beast and you're trying to conquer nature. But for me, and I know a lot of people are like this, sometimes the worst day of fishing is the best outing with a bunch of people. So I'm going to modify this question a little bit. I always ask the same kind of question, but I'll modify a little bit for you guys. Is this, give me a list of like your top 3 people that you would love to fish with or even just share a beer with. That's the modification. And they can be living or dead. Well, we'll start with CJ again.
Okay. So that's a good one. So I would say if I got to share a beer with, I think it would have been my grandfather.
Yep.
Who actually is no longer with us, but I think that would be something that would have been awesome to be able to do, especially a beer like we got to can today.
Yep.
Something like that with that type of meaning would have been really awesome. I think if I use fishing, I think I would probably have to say Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily because I find him as my favorite basketball player, because I know how competitive he is.
Oh yeah.
Not how competitive I am. So just to say I got to beat Mike at something would be pretty awesome.
I laugh because I've seen CJ play trivia before, and I know how competitive he is.
Yeah, the small little thing.
It's true.
Everything is competition. So Michael Jordan's known for being one of the best competitors. I think that would be awesome just to be able to beat him or something like that.
Yeah.
And let's see, a third one. Man.
CJ, while you're talking, just to accentuate the fact on your competitiveness.
Oh goodness!
When we play intramural sports on base for years, when CJ and I were working together, we didn't have a squadron. Like every squadron has a team. It was, what team are you with? And you tell them what squadron they're from, and they scratch their head and they go, "Oh, you got CJ on your team, huh?" And they just knew him because of the way he ran his mouth competitively. It was the whole base. Yep, I'm on CJ's team. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, then you have a 1A and a 1B teams,
Yep.
and you go with that.
Yep.
So I think the third one I'll go back to the nostalgia thing. I'll go with my uncle with a beer for the same purpose with my grandfather.
Yeah.
So it'll be definitely.
That's awesome. What about you, Ray? What do you think?
So for a beer, it would have to be my dad. He's not, but he lives every day through just memories and just the appreciation of raising me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say my pops. He didn't get an opportunity to even know that I had this vision of starting a company.
Yeah.
So as far as fishing, I would say another competitive person out there that likes to brag a lot. He's not with us anymore either, but like a Muhammad Ali type.
Oh, yeah.
He's just. Is that what you were gonna say, Chris?
Like
Ali was just, he's just one of those guys, right? So you would want to beat him, bring something in better than him just to hear what he had to say or shut his mouth up. But I would say Muhammad Ali. That would have been pretty cool.
Nobody's ever said Muhammad Ali, and I couldn't agree more.
The other one, imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine him on the water on the right.
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm the greatest.
And then the greatest. Let's see. As far as maybe another beer, that's a tough one. I mean, I could say anybody. I'm just trying to think of something really cool, creative. I don't know. A lot of my friends that have supported me, we haven't really had an opportunity to all rally together. It's always been 2 here, 5 there, 7. It's not like the whole collective of the crew that I came up with, especially through those college days, like trying to get like 20 or 30 of us together and just unwind, have some good beers, beat a little bit, and catch up. I think that would be pretty cool if I can just get a collective of friends together like that.
Yeah. I can definitely get behind that. Definitely. What about you, Chris?
Well, since Ali was taken, my famous.
We can still get in the same boat with Ali.
I'd like to maybe have a beer with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
There you go.
That guy. Not only does he seem cool as shit to hang out with, but he just seems like a genuinely good person. So I'll toss that one up there.
He's an accomplished fisherman too.
Oh no shit! Really?
Yeah, he is. He's pretty good.
Oh.
I played against him in football, high school.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Did you really? Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, did you win? I guess that's a real question.
Well, Ray,
they kicked their ass. They kicked their ass. They beat us up.
While Chris is thinking, I mean, this begs a serious question. So you've worked with CJ and you've played against The Rock. Who talked more trash?
Oh.
The gray one has nothing on it.
I will say The Rock was The Rock was he was younger. He was I think he was a year under me, so I just know he was on the team and he was a big dude. And I think he dated some girl that was in my homeroom, so it got a little close there.
Oh,
no, CJ, yeah, I can see it in his fabric, but he's kind of, he's reserved at times, but sometimes it comes out, it seeps out.
Definitely. I love it. Oh man, you got anybody else for us, Chris?
This guy, I actually met this next one once briefly, but he's a pretty busy guy. But the owner of Dogfish had Sam Calagione.
He's an interesting dude.
But I've always looked up to him just because of his style and what he's kind of driven the business to stand for. So, and then I guess I easily jump on board with my deceased grandfather. He passed away when I was probably 7 years old, but he was by far the most intimidating man I've ever met in my life. So
yeah,
I think it'd be pretty cool to kick back and have a few beers with him. He could still probably drink me under the table, but that'd be a good conversation, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So I always ask this question about if folks have traveled anywhere specifically to fish. Have either of you guys traveled anywhere for a fishing trip?
I happened to be just through work. I was out in this island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, not too far from the Maldives, actually, what I found out when I was looking for a honeymoon spot. But one of the few days that I got off when I was stationed there, they do, some fishing charters and stuff like that. It was not too long prior to me getting there that someone recently had died from choppy waters. So they become super skittish about weather. So I never was able to make it out there, but I did do some pretty killer snorkeling, which makes me regret not being able to fish.
Yeah.
Because it was just so much going on down there.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had a fear of the ocean until I was snorkeling amongst all that.
I believe it.
Yeah.
What about bucket list destinations? Have you guys ever had any like a place where you're just that's a body of water I would love to spend a day on a boat and just kick back? Is there anything like that for you guys?
So I actually have heard a bunch of guys for Alaska. We go up there for work, fly out there, and people have been out there for a couple weeks.
Yep.
And they said just the fishing was absolutely unbelievable. And they went out a few times and just come back with all kinds of stuff. So just the idea of Alaska and being in that type of environment, but I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be really cool.
That's awesome. So now the big one. I need each of you guys to tell me a story about the moment when you were out fishing that's the most memorable or the one you're most proud of. Maybe it was a personal best, an amazing catch. Maybe it was, something crazy happened on the water that you were able to experience and help out with the situation. And then on the other side of it, I need you guys to share with me the biggest sort of... But I'm gonna throw a modifier in there too. If you guys want to substitute a fail story as a story of a failed batch of beer, I'll allow that. I think every brewer's got one.
Oh, absolutely. If they don't, they're lying to you.
That's what I'm saying. It's just I'm telling you, brewers and fishermen, it's symbiotic. It goes right together.
I'll start with a failed batch of beer. It was one of my early ones. Home brewing. Not really. Still very much green and fumbling my way through things. I was obviously experimenting a lot. I mean, what brewer doesn't? But I wanted to make a beer that tasted like Thin Mints, like the Girl Scout cookie.
Oh, all right.
Oh, wow.
So of course, the chocolate part from a brewer's perspective, cocoa nibs is your go-to. So I incorporate that with the stout, and then for some reason I took some random person's advice on the internet, and for the mint side I threw Altoids into the beer as it was fermenting. As you can imagine,
was it curiously strong?
It was curiously disgusting. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. There was this kind of a grassy chemical taste to it
Oh,
that
wow.
was masked by a disgusting amount of cocoa. It was disgusting. Absolute failure.
Wow. All right.
I think I probably still have one bottled up just as a joke to give to someone later on. Like,
There you go. It's a great idea. Thin mints are amazing, and like the marketing potential is just huge. But
good on paper.
yeah, definitely. What about you guys?
So actually, I don't have any stories about failing anything.
Clearly.
No, so my fishing failure. Both stories are actually with my stepdad at the time that got me introduced to fishing. This is so weird, but there was this little spot behind like this little strip mall that had like this was in Kentucky. It had like a Kmart and everything else in it, and a Chinese restaurant. So we're going back, and we used to stop in this and crawl through the fence and dive and fish in this little spot. And we knew that there was this catfish in there because we had seen it. And I went to go, I threw it in, and I had it, and I was reeling it up, and I kept walking up the hill. And one of the people from the Chinese restaurant came in and yelled at us, told us that we couldn't fish in there, and started yelling. So I freaked out and pulled her up, and the catfish came off my hook, fell onto the ground, and bounced right back in the water and was gone forever.
Oh,
and I completely, and I had it on my hook, I had it and everything, and I lost focus. I turned around, I looked at her. I was excited because I finally got that catfish.
Yeah.
And it jumped right off, and to this day it was this big. So it
yeah. Of course.
It was 5 feet long.
That one.
It grows bigger every time I tell the story. But it would have been by far my biggest catch I've ever had. So
there's so many stories that are out there like that where you're like, I had this amazing catch, and for one reason or another, like I had one where I had, it hands down would have been the biggest fish I have ever caught, and I had to, because the area I was fishing was sketchier than hell, I had to climb down on this little spillway near this dam, and my tackle bag with my phone in it was on the other side of this fence. I'm a big guy, I go 300 pounds, and now I'm like 5 feet under the platform where I was standing, and there's a fence or a little rail that's separating me from my bag. I'm holding this fish, and I'm like, nobody's gonna believe me, so I just released it. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I just had to release. I called my best friend, and I was like, dude, you're never. I'm like, I'm gonna tell you this story, and I'm forever gonna tell this story about a fail. I was like, it was like a religious experience. I was shaking from catching this fish. It was amazing. But this was like 3 summers ago. Unbelievable. So upset. What about you, Ray? Where are you as far as epic wins or fail stories?
Yeah, nothing huge, but a couple exciting catches for me. I mean, it was up in Amherst. I forget the exact location, but it was definitely in Amherst. And I had caught back-to-back, probably 5-pound largemouths.
Nice.
Off of Senko, just a regular, just casting Senkos on a tree belt area, and didn't really expect anything. And then as soon as you feel that line moving, wham. And so I got so geeked off of that. And then my friend was with me, so we were all excited, taking photos, settled back down, and maybe 10 minutes later caught one just a tad bit under what the bigger one was. So that was just like a memorable.
That's
that
amazing.
made my season,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You catch back to back like that, I'm like, yeah. As far as misses, it was also in Amherst, probably a couple years prior to the 2 big catches for me.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to what CJ's story is, it was a fish. It's definitely a largemouth bass without question.
Yep.
I don't know if they were spawning or what, but that sucker, I forget what I threw out, but as soon as it hit the water, that sucker just hit it so hard, and it was splashing and cracking and splashing, and then The line just broke, and I was just so I was so devastated. I was so excited to have it on the line for like 10 seconds.
Yep.
And it was kicking and fighting and screaming, and my line just couldn't hold it, man. And that was the end of it. That was it. I was devastated for a couple months.
It's amazing how like everything, your whole world just crumbles. You're just like, what just happened? Oh my God. You know, it's like
it sucks.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Ray, just to follow up on that, it was kicking and fighting. Were you the one who was screaming?
I was, yeah, absolutely.
I would have. No shame there.
Yeah.
I was thinking about jumping in after it. I was about to go jump in on that sucker.
Oh man, that is
I
awesome.
actually have a pretty fun story that I have with my stepdad at the time. So we had left at probably 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Go fishing. My mom knew we were going fishing. This is before cell phones. There was no cell phones. We must have hit up probably 4 or 5 like creeks, lakes, ponds, different things like that throughout the day. It is dark by the time we're coming home. And we find a spot. My stepdad's like, "Hey, we could try that one more. Let's try that one right there. We're almost home, but let's hit this place up." So we get over, and first time we've ever got here, it was dark. I threw out a line. I didn't realize that there was a branch there. And my line goes out over the branch, still goes in the water. And I look at it, I was like, well, might as well just pull this up. Something actually hits. I snap it back, pull it up. I actually caught it, and the fish is coming up on the string over the tree, come back down. And I reeled it and caught it. So I yelled at my stepdad to come see. He's watching me pull it up over this branch and through a tree to come back down. So that was the first time I caught a fish before him in a lake.
That's awesome.
And the best part of the whole story was my mom flipping out on us because we actually ran out of gas. So we had to find the person's house closest to us, tell them we were fishing in their pond, call my mom. My mom had to come and get us, and she lost it.
Oh my God.
Because she had no idea where we were. Like I said, there's no cell phones, you know?
Yeah.
She had no idea where we were. Here we are fishing on this person's pond. I had no idea that we're fishing on the pond.
Yep.
It's dark time. So it was, but you know, I got the first fish, so I was happy, and the last fish of the day. So
that's awesome. That's a good way to go out, you know, when the day's done and you're like, oh yeah, I guess I can stop slaying them to call it a night. You know, do what I can. Nice. Well, hey, gentlemen, go ahead. This is an opportunity for you guys to promote yourself, promote your breweries, promote what you have going on. If you have any other projects or anything that people can look forward to, let them know where to find you on social media, any way to keep in touch with you, and especially where to go get your beer.
I'll go first. This is, again, Ray from White Lion Brewing, Springfield, Mass. We are located in downtown Springfield, 1500 Main Street, the Tower Square block. We run a beer garden across the street at 1477 Main Street. So if the restrictions release, you can look forward to some beer garden activity this summer. We distribute our beer primarily through accounts in Western Massachusetts, all the way out through Central Mass, and we dibble and dabble in the eastern part of the state as well. We are, if you want to follow our journey, we are on pretty much all of the social media platforms. We're on Facebook at White Lion Brewing. We're on Twitter at White Lion Brewing. We're on Instagram at White Lion Brew. You can find us dibble and dabble a little bit on Snapchat as well. And we also run a LinkedIn account that has all of our media content. We're happy to partner with Arc Point, Brew Practitioners, Three Cross Fermentation, East Coast Kombucha out of Connecticut. So we're just trying to create a team environment, work with each other. We're all small artisan beverage companies, and just looking to lift up and support and, again, keep Western Mass on the map.
Yep.
And continue to push the best beers that we can.
Beautiful, man.
So again, this is CJ from Arc Point Brewing Company. Our big push, especially for the next coming weeks, is actually this beer right here. As you can see, this is our As One beer that'll be going out through the whole state of and the whole area of Massachusetts. So primarily in Western Mass and Eastern Mass. So that's the big one that we're pushing right now. Same thing, you find us on the social media. As most typically Facebook and Instagram. Neither of us really mess with Twitter very much. So those are the two platforms that we predominantly run. And we're just trying to, keep growing with, the help of White Lion and the distributing company. Continue to get back when we can. Even for as small as we are and for what we do, like it's super important for us to be able to get back.
Yeah.
And to do different projects like the project that we just completed with the other breweries. So that's kind of who we are. That's what we do. That's what we've done since day one when we ran our Kickstarter. We had a kind of a donation, a give back to DV Farm. So if there's something we could do, we'll always try to do that. So whenever you can, just go out and grab some Arc Point.
Absolutely. End a good fishing trip with an Arc Point or a White Lion. Get out there and that's the best. Whatever you got to make it count when you end a fishing trip. That's what I say. Yeah. And it's funny because I love beer. I really do love beer, but calorically I try to watch it. But I'll tell you what, when I do have beer, I make it count. And I want to have something that's I want to drink local, and I want to drink something that's somebody who I could, bump into at, one of the establishments that I frequent regularly, and know that like some real care went into this. So you guys make great products, both of you. I mean, they're awesome. I've sampled many, probably too many actually, but I appreciate what you guys are doing out there. Thanks so much for coming on the show. This is really, really great, guys. Check out Arc Point Brewing. Check out White Lion. Get out there and try these beers. If you're local and you've got access to them and you're in Massachusetts, and definitely give them a shot, and follow them on their socials as well. Keep in touch with what's going on at the beer community. Sean, you look like you want to jump in here.
I do. I just want to wrap this up with a nice little bow. So, obviously, having worked over the past, how long has it been, CJ? I think we started working together in like 2010.
Yeah,
around there. Yeah. So working with CJ and Chris since 2010 and up to about I think 2017 or so. I think that's when my career took a different turn. With this whole, the way that Jigs and Bigs and we've been keeping in touch with local, companies. I mean, really the whole spectrum. I mean, if you're local, we're at this level where, we can all help each other out, get each other exposure. And, Jigs and Bigs has kind of taken off in a great direction since the pandemic started and since its inception in this man's mind right here. But the one thing that Bobby's strength is events, and we haven't been able to do that.
Yeah.
And down the road, when things start getting a little normal, I think you can expect to hear from us saying, "Hey, we have something going on. Where are you guys available? Are White Lion and Arc Point available to come out and for the overage customers that want to have a beer, if they're, let's say, I don't know, Bobby, demoing a kayak somewhere."
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm sure the Three Bells folks would love to investigate more about Arc Point and White Lion, and
definitely.
Things like this. But it's the nice thing is,
for sure.
Yeah, with calling you up, CJ. I mean, aside from the NCAA stuff, because it's that time of year and we're all competitive. I was like, I called up CJ and I haven't talked to him in a while, and I said, "Hey, I got two things for you. Number one, tournament basketball betting, and number two, we've been doing well with the podcast. You guys are doing well with the brewery. Let's have a chit chat and then see where things go from here." And that's the nice thing about the way we kind of do things organically.
Yeah.
Bobby and I had talked prior. About talking with you guys because he knew you from events. So it was just a nice fit. And I got to say, thank you guys for coming on. This is awesome. And we're going to be looking very forward to getting some events going and see if you guys want to be involved.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great to see.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
It's going to be good growth all around for everybody. That's really what we want to see. Western Massachusetts is a great place that often gets overlooked, and it's a shame people are missing out.
That's true.
There's good stuff happening here.
We're not just not Boston. We're
exactly. We're really not Boston. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful,
sure,
guys.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Out soon too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's starting to happen, and my Friday night venue over in Feeding Hills, Casa de Lisa, is where Sean regularly plays. If you guys want to go and show him, what's up, you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, I'll have to hit something up soon. That's for sure.
I love it. Awesome, guys. Good. All right, great. All right, well, hey, thanks so much, fellas. Do me a favor. Send me, if you happen to have any, fishing pictures, or even if they're not fishing pictures, you got to have a picture of, that first can or that first growler that came off the line or something. Send me those, because I'll put together some special artwork for this episode when it shows up, and you guys will all be on it.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much. Chris, Ray, CJ, appreciate what you guys are doing out there. Keep up the great work, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, man.
Sure. Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, guys.
Well, all right, guys, that about does it for this week's show. We had a good one. It is so nice to be able to have up to date, really, really good organic fishing content for you guys. Really, really great stuff. Lots of big things happening. We are currently working on getting together with other tournament clubs for updates on things that are going around on their area. We'll have information about all types of different competitive fishing events for you as we get a little bit further. You'll remember we are now over the halfway mark of April. We're only a couple of weeks before it's time to get down for this May tournament. And there's a couple things on my end that I need to get in order before that can actually go live. Sean, I'm not sure if you have frozen in your screen or you're just staring at me lifelessly. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. We may have lost you, but I'm still rolling over here, so I'm just going to run with it. Anyway, as we go for... Yeah, we did lose him. We did. There he goes. He's back. Spoke too soon.
We almost made it through.
Made it through. It happens.
Let's let everybody know that Amazon is taking care of me because I ordered a bunch of shit to eliminate this problem and is not here yet. So hopefully this is the last show where I'm fucking in, out, whatever. It's all good.
It was kind of crazy because it was this frozen image of you
I hate that.
And I'm talking yeah, Sean. So, all right. I'm either he's fallen into a coma or he's dropped a connection. Which is good, but you're back. That's all that matters.
50-50.
That's what I'm saying.
What was the question? I want to answer it. Yay.
No, I was just kind of commenting about how nice it is to have actual organic fishing content, good stuff to kind of go and share and inform people with. Very, very excited about that. So we're happy. We hope you guys are happy. Hope you're out there getting on some fish. And this tournament in May is coming up. We just have to get a couple things handled as far as financials and things, and then we can get our pre-registration underway. You guys can go ahead and join us and sign up for that tournament, and it's going to be amazing. The larger the turnout, the more prizes we will be able to give, because we're basically flipping all of this over into prize packs. So hoping all of you guys want to get out there and catch some fish and enter them and compete and have some fun. And the level of shit talking is going to be at a record level, I think, for compared to any other tournament that we've had. So very excited about all of this stuff. We've got good stuff coming up. I have an episode in the can right now that an interview with the three, call this the OG Hookset Hoodlums crew. I've got Wild Bill. Wild Bill has been on the show previously, but this time he's coming back, and we have Andrew and Ken. They kind of round out the Hookset Hoodlums, that sort of that OG collective. Like when you think Hookset Hoodlums, that's immediately who comes to mind right there. So we've got them joining us, and that interview is really fantastic. I also have I have Jeff Holloway. You might know him as Big Nasty 186. Big Nasty is an amazing angler and personality. He comes to us off the heels of an outing in Crumpton, Maryland, with good old Cody, Lockwood Fishing, getting out there and seeing what the city of Crumpton has for good fish. And he's got some really good stories to tell. It was definitely an experience, to say the least. But we got to talking. We've got some plans coming up shortly where we're going to get out and do some smallmouth fishing together, he and I. In fact, we might even get out on the kayaks and see how that goes. But definitely really great stuff. I'm recording with Eric Graves. He'll be on an upcoming show, and then I have a couple other ones that are set up too. But we're just really great guests lined up for you guys. We're going to go through and have an amazing summer, like tournaments, fun, sun. It's going to be just awesome. Great stuff, and very excited. So let's go ahead. Sean, do you want to jump in and wrap things up? You have anything you want to add in? See, he jumped in, reconnected, and then froze immediately. I got to take a picture of this. Hopefully it doesn't. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, that's got to go on the old Instagram. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this episode up here. You guys go ahead, have yourselves one hell of a week. We will see you guys in 7 days with another episode of Jigs and Bigs. And Shit Show is coming soon. You're not going to want to miss that. As always, guys, follow us over at our Instagram, at Jigs and Bigs. Just check us out over there. We got lots of followers over there. We're really active and put some good stuff together. We've got a Facebook page. And if you have any friends, you want to turn them onto the podcast, send them over to jigsandbigs.com. Jigsandbigs.com is sort of like ground zero for all your Jigs and Bigs stuff. And we have a new store that's about to get launched with some new merch as well, including performance gear. That's a big one. So that's coming soon. Really looking forward to it. Sean, do you have anything you'd like to chime in with before we wrap up?
I don't know what I missed. I missed the whole outro. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
The internet.
No
Fuck
worries.
my Wi-Fi. Yeah. No. Get out there and fish. It's time all over the state to fish. Fish. Tell us about it.
Yep.
Reach out. We want to hear your fishing stuff.
Yeah, actually,
thank you guys. It's been awesome.
You know what? You make a really good point, Sean. Last week, I posted a video. I was just super excited that we had some really good fishing content coming in. And I told everybody, I put up a story, and I basically said, DM us your fish pics. And you guys delivered. You sent a bunch of good stuff. So I did a real quick video and posted that and did a couple, really all over Instagram. Reels, story, post, you name it. All kinds of good stuff. So we're going to do more of that stuff. So if you've got some fish that you're getting on that you're really proud of, and you want to kind of share that with us, DM it to us, send it over to us, reach out and get in touch, and we'll feature your catches as well. So everybody get out there, get on them, find them, and catch them. Everybody take good care of yourself. We'll see you in 7 days. Tight live.